Oh, a human has gained fame in the northern region? The giants don't usually recognize the significance of another race member, and they would kill him before making him famous. If this young man has gained such fame that it reached us here, his potential must be real. A green flame that can heal serious injuries and prolong life? What a magnificent ability. Maybe it's a new race derived from humans. Maybe we should try to get him on our side. It is a shame to let the giants take advantage of him like that. I think that... Shut up! A shout from Jabba immediately silenced the hall. Then he looked back at Robin, not knowing what to do. Even Uggaz looked out of the corner of his eye at Jabba, as if begging him to help him. He did not understand what he sees in front of him right now. When he came up with this information, he thought it would be interesting to Robin, and perhaps his response would be the same as the response of the rest of the elders now, but this. Robin was frozen in place. His pupil narrowed after hearing this, as if they were about to disappear, and sweat started pouring out of his hair and face. After more than a minute in this position, his eyes regained some light again and he spoke. You said that this young man is different from ordinary humans? Tell me exactly, how different is that person? Uggaz swallowed his saliva and then spoke. It is said that he is about the same height as you. His physique is weaker than that of ordinary humans, and though he is a shaman and has the second stage of the body-strengthening divine tattoo, he moves much slower than a newly ascended warrior. Upon hearing this, Robin looked toward his foot with an open mouth, grabbed his head with both hands as if to protect it from exploding, and began to mutter in a low voice, No. No. This doesn't make sense at all. Who is this young man? I told her not to give the life fire technique to anyone. All the elders started standing one after the other and looking at each other in astonishment. This sect head of theirs still had a smile on his face and kept laughing even as he gave them the means to help them control the world. But it seems that he has mentally collapsed after hearing this news. Master, are you all right? Jabba spoke hesitantly. Which tribe is this from the 12? How can I go there? Can I meet that person? Robin rained Uggaz with questions out of the blue. Calm down, please. There is no need to worry. The young man is in the Azel tribe, according to the public knowledge in the northern region. He is mainly used to treat serious wounds and prolong the life of the members of that tribe, and when he is free, he meets strangers from other tribes to treat them also in exchange for 5 gold banknotes per person. He works day and night. You can see him easily if you are willing to sacrifice that amount of money. 500 energy pearls are no joke after all. That tribe is stationed at the highest point of the planet. Even after leaving the eastern region and heading north, you will have to pass through 3 other tribes of the 12 before reaching the tribe of Azel. Going will be difficult since the northern region is considered a closed area and no one can enter it from the rest of the planet's regions without special IDs. But I can request a favor from the northern region fire salamander chief. He can definitely smuggle you there anytime you want for the right price. Just say when. Immediately. Tell him I'm ready to go at once. No matter if this requires 500 energy pearls or 1,000,000. I have to meet him as soon as possible. Robin grabbed Oghaz's arm and emphasized his words. I will go too. Jabba looked at Uggaz and spoke. Okay then, please make preparations. I can't go with you because I'm wanted everywhere, but I can secure the way for you too. You will fly north tomorrow. After 2 weeks. Don't worry. I trust everything will be fine. Jabba spoke, trying to comfort Robin. Since they moved from the City of Hope, they crossed the borders of many lands of the tribes of the eastern region, and upon reaching the borders of the northern region, they met with the Fire Salamander organization and he and his men began helping them to get in. So they were able to enter the lands of the 4 northern tribes without a permit, and after each time they crossed the border they bought a new Draco to reach the next tribe in as soon as possible. But the strange thing is that during all this Robin did not utter a word and did not look around for a moment. He did not even give a comment on the extent of the strength or the size of the lands of the northern tribes. He contented himself with sitting, eyebrows frowned, looking at his feet, while moving his fingers fast and tensely. Can you at least tell me what's on your mind? Why are we doing this? Jabba tried again, but again he didn't get any response. It was as if Robin was completely cut off from the world around him. Anyway, Get ready. We will reach our goal in less than half an hour. Then I will ask to meet the young man and you will enter with me as my escort. I hope you try to act normally, or else the guards there will feel that something is wrong and will not let us in. We can't make a scene here or we might never get back alive. After about a full minute, Robin nodded. Is this young man from my planet? How and why did he come here? Why does he have the life fire technique I gave Mila? Is everything all right back there? Did that young man come to send a message from Mila? Questions. Too many questions without answers almost killed Robin out of overthinking. But he came to his senses a little after Jabba's warning and began to take a deep breath and slowly let it out. After half an hour, Jabba and Robin jumped off the Draco and landed in front of a huge green building. In front of it, hundreds of people standing in rows, some of them looking and smelling as if they hadn't moved a single step in months. Wait for me here. I'll see if I can do something to get past all these lines. Jabba spoke via the thought-conveying technique, then moved toward the two guards at the gate. Robin rolled his tired eyes and quickly scanned his surroundings. The place is mined with guards everywhere. Most of them are at shaman level, and there are at least 5 Dragon Realm cultivators around this building alone. After 10 minutes. Come on. Let's get in before anyone opens their mouths. Jabba hurriedly grabbed Robin's arm and ran again toward the entrance to the palace, past hundreds of people standing in line. They were gazing at them like they are preparing to eat them alive. When Jabba saw the puzzled look on Robin's face right before they entered the palace, he spoke. I gave the guard a few golden banknotes and he decided to change our entry order a little, hee. Just before they entered the palace, the guard stood in front of them and looked directly into the eyes of Jabba. You should leave any weapons you have here. After you enter, you will have 10 minutes max. After that, I'm going to have troubles. If a superior asked what's going on, I will have to say that you cheated me, and you will both be arrested and punished accordingly. Understand? 10 minutes, understand? Jabba nodded twice and left a short sword with the guard. Then he and Robin entered the palace and closed the door behind them. Robin looked around in astonishment after entering. The palace, which was garish from the outside, was inside a one-story block closed from all directions. It was obvious that it was designed to keep what it is in and what is out, decorated with all kinds of skulls and the heads of huge beasts and intelligent creatures, and green misty smoke all around them, giving the place a special aura. At the same time, he was able to spot the 5 cultivators and the realm of the dragon within a few meters of this place, so close that they could literally hear every word going on inside and they could storm in at any moment if they wanted to. After a few more seconds of checking the place, they found a person sitting in one of the corners of the palace, yet he did not look in their direction as if they were not there, still busy looking at the burning green flame in front of him as if he saw his whole life playing in it. Robin slowly approached him and began to extract some features of this young man. Blonde-haired, but his hair roots were black. His facial features were handsome and sharp. His body had a stage 2 body-strengthening divine tattoo, and his inner energy had reached the pinnacle of the sainthood realm. Looking at the green flames before the young man, he could say for sure that this is the life fire technique. Before Robin came to Nahari, he gave Mila the first 2 stages of this very technique. There was no doubt about that. He didn't know who this young man was, but Mila didn't give him the full technique. Or did he steal it somehow? Robin continued approaching the young man with too many questions in his head. What attracted Robin's attention the most were his eyes. 2 dead eyes with no light or life in them. When Robin saw these eyes, he remembered his condition within the period immediately after his torture. No, even Robin's eyes never reached this degree of hopelessness and sadness. This young man had despair in his heart and nothing else. These are not the eyes of a famous person who lives a good life by treating people, but rather eyes that have seen all the horrors in the world. Injury, poison, or life vitality? The young man spoke while still looking at the fire in front of him. Robin looked at Jabba and sent him something via the thoughts-conveying technique. A little later Jabba spoke. Hello, Honorable Green Flame Carbon. I have heard a lot about you. The thing is, I have an old injury from a sword that poisoned, and the poison took years of my life vitality. Please take a look at everything in my body. I will remain completely silent until you are done so as not to disturb you. The young man raised his head and looked at Jabba with a slightly knotted eyebrow. All right, Suddenly Robin moved his hands and a semi-transparent bubble formed around the three of them. Then he looked toward the young man and spoke. This bubble is made by the minor heavenly law of sound. No one can hear a word outside it. We can speak freely now. Minor heavenly law of sound. What do you know about heavenly laws? The young man suddenly stood up and looked at Robin in shock. But there was no fear in them. Robin came forward and sat down in front of the young man and gestured for him to sit down again. You can stop this nonsense now. I told you no one can hear us. Only my disciple, and he knows everything about our origin. So there is no need to hold yourself back in front of him. Tell me, when did you come here? Who sent you and why? And most importantly, who gave you the life fire technique? When the young man heard the term fire of life, his eyes widened at the end of them. You. Who are you exactly? I'm the one who asked first. Robin spoke in a hard tone this time. The young man sat quietly and looked at Robin with some interest this time. I see. I didn't think anyone else knew the coordinates of this planet. I thought that no one knew it except my mother and my elder brothers. Was it one of my elder brothers who sent you here to search for me? Your elder brothers. Who are they? Robin asked quickly, but a very bad feeling started to come to him. Do you want more confirmation of who I am, or something? Of course. I mean my adopted brothers Caesar, Theo, and Peon, and my older sister Zara. My mother told them about the coordinates that day. Robin felt an explosion in his head upon hearing the last sentence. My mother told them about the coordinates. The only one who saw him inserting the updates of the planet Nahari into the space portal was Mila? Lady Mila for you, rude thing. The young man furrowed his eyebrows and let out some of his energy to pressure Robin. Robin quickly stood up and looked at the young man in front of him with wide-open eyes. His mind seemed to stop working. He didn't know what to say or what to ask. Maybe this boy is. Robin quickly shook his head before jumping to any conclusions and activate 20% of the Eye of Truth, so that it wouldn't emit a golden glow, and focused entirely on trying to figure out the real age of this young man. He quickly found out that he is 20 years and a few months old. 20 years. Robin arrived on this planet 21 years ago. Tell me what your name is. Don't tell me the bullshit name they gave you here. Give me your real name. Robin quickly asked. The young man narrowed his eyes slightly but replied, My name is Richard Burton. Robin's heart pounding after hearing the name was so strong it was as if his heart was preparing to jump out of his chest. But that wasn't enough for him. He quickly raised the Eye of Truth's ability to 50% of its strength and released his entire spiritual strength and focused on spotting the blood of the boy in front of him. Undoubtedly, there are signs of his own bloodline in him. This young man is one of his first-class relatives, without a doubt. If he's not his brother and certainly not his father, he sure is. You are my S. Robin started to stutter as he looked at the boy in front of him, sometimes with red eyes open to the end and sometimes half closed as if he was still trying to convince himself that he was in a dream. I am what? Speak up already. Richard spoke sharply, clearly becoming impatient. You are my so. Robin was about to finish but stopped himself in the middle of the sentence, not daring to continue. Then he sat down, looked at the floor, and asked in a low voice, Is your mother, Lady Mila, okay these days? Richard let out a dark chuckle. I hope so. It is said that there is a paradise to which the righteous go. She should be fine. What do you mean? Robin raised his head and looked directly into Richard's eyes. My mother is dead. Robin looked into the eyes of the young man in front of him after hearing his last sentence. He looked at him for a long time. With an emotionless face, he didn't utter a single word, but his pupils were shaking so hard. It was as if his eyes were about to fall out. Richard furrowed his eyebrows a little when he saw this. He didn't know what to do. The person in front of him was clearly in deep shock. But why? Richard looked at the giant with the side of his eye, perhaps understanding more about the situation from his features, but he also found him looking at the human sitting in front of him with a face that looked in deep pain. The giant even tried to extend his hand so many times to put it on the shoulder of the seated human, but he would pull it back again every time, apparently not daring to cut his rope of thoughts. Did she really die? Mila. She is dead. Finally, Robin muttered, but his eyes regained focus for a moment as if he understood something and spoke. No, no. Maybe you mean she has been messing for a while or something, right? That is definitely what you mean. She's so strong. She is the strongest woman I have ever known. Come on, tell me, when did she disappear? Did this happen here or on our home planet? I will search for her. Richard ignored that the person in front of him called his mother by her mere name again. His eyes reddened and he started laughing hysterically. Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Yeah. She disappeared. Right in front of my eyes. Oh, how? Was it the major heavenly law of space? Why did she use it? Tell me the specifics. Robin held out hope when he heard this and asked again, already forgetting that Mila doesn't know anything about that law. No. Where did your imagination take you? It was much simpler than that. She vanished by the stomach acid law, ha ha ha. Richard continued laughing out loud again. Ha! Robin swallowed his saliva, then asked, What do you mean? Exactly? I didn't understand you. What is there to understand? The giants of Nahari cooked her and ate her right before my eyes. Well, that can be considered watching her disappear, right? Richard kept talking in a sarcastic manner, but after he finished he placed both hands on his head while his eyes were wide open, as if he could see everything that had happened in front of him again. As if all the lightning bolts in the world struck him in the same second. Robin kept looking at him with an open mouth and lifeless eyes. Even his pupils stopped moving. After the Seven Kingdoms attacked Jura City with the support of the Flame Empire, we managed to hold out for about half a year. But a betrayal took place and the city was conquered. My older brothers, Uncle Billy, and even Grandpa Gallon insisted that my mother take me and escape through the space portal so that we might meet with my father once again. They thought he might protect us and give us solutions to what is happening to the family. Richard spoke in a choked voice, still resting his head in both hands. But when we arrived, we did not find my dear father. We did not find any human beings. The portal sent us to the middle of a city where everything is huge, and around us from every direction there were 3 meters tall giants talking in a strange language and trying to harass my mother. We did not know what was happening around us, so we tried to escape. But we couldn't run away. The gravity was too strong and I was too weak, and my mom had to protect me from gravity with her energy as we tried to escape, so we were quickly caught. But my mother did not give up. Everyone who was trying to approach us was turned into ashes. My mother held her ground and protected both of us. But in the end, a few giants came with the power of a sage and managed to subdue her. Before they caught her, she screamed and signaled to the giants to wait for a little. She cut herself and me and told me to heal myself. We used the life fire to heal the wounds right before their eyes, and that is something they understood. Then we were taken to the place of the chief of the tribe and his subordinates, a large hall full of giants. It was like some kind of a party was taking place there. We were presented to them to make a decision for us. We spared no effort in trying to prove what we could do so that they might survive. After our mother and I proved to them again that we really treat severe injuries and we can even prolong life. They agreed to keep us as pets, but the chieftain approached my mother and began stroking her hair. His intentions were very clear. My mother refused strongly and started yelling and indicating with her hand that she was married. Whether he understood her or not, the chief of the tribe wasn't fond of her reaction very much. It seemed like she embarrassed him somehow, so he moved away from my mother's side and gestured to some of his companions. They quickly moved, captured my mother, and pushed her to the ground in front of me. Then my mother looked at me, sobbing, and said, "Stay alive." Then she used her inner energy to cut her lifeline. She committed suicide as an act of loyalty to her fool husband, the one who put her in this situation in the first place. But do they leave it at that? Of course not. For some reason, my mother's death angered them even more. Haha, so they started her corpse anyway, and after they finished they grilled her over a modest fire in the middle of the hall, cut her up, and distributed her body parts on the plates of all the attendees. Hee. Everyone took a piece of my mother while I was sitting watching. I remember one of them taking a bite of the liver and then spitting it out with disgust and going to the fire to grill some more. He even stole an extra piece of the kidney as he was waiting. Ha ha ha. Richard's outburst of hysterical laughter ended with weeping. Every word he said was reminiscing. Everything was as if it happened in front of him again. So he put both his hands on his head and went down with his body until his chin touched his knees and he started crying like a 10-year-old child. Tears filled Jabba's eyes after hearing what happened to this boy and his mother, even though he hadn't known them before. As for Robin, his heartbeat became very faint, so faint that Jabba had to cover him with his spiritual sense every now and then to make sure he was still alive. But the thing is, Robin's features remained unchanged from beginning to end. Not a single drop of tears fell from one of his eyes. After another 2 minutes, Richard still sobbed heartily. Robin stood quietly, turned, and moved toward the door, but stopped just before the door opened and said 3 words, "Wait for me." On top of a hill outside the capital of the Azul tribe, after getting out of that place, Robin left the Draco and started walking south on his feet. He didn't say a word and Jabba didn't ask him anything, just kept a small distance between them and started walking behind him. A few hours passed in silence with both of them sitting at the edge of the hilltop. Robin looked as if he could sit in his place like this forever. But Jabba couldn't take it any longer and decided to ask, even if he didn't get an answer. "This young man and his mother, did you know them from before?" "They are my son and my wife." Wah-dash! Jabba took a few steps back. For the first time in his life, he felt frightened. After a while, he gathered all the courage he can master and asked again. You are okay, right?" "I'm fine. Go get us the Draco. It's time to go back to the sect." Robin spoke in a voice that made Jabba's hair stand. But he didn't dare to stay here an extra moment, so he quickly jumped up and went to fetch the Draco, leaving Robin alone. After a few more minutes, Robin extended his palm and a small metal tablet appeared on it. Then a white flame appeared on top of that tablet and it silently started melting on his palm until it turned into a mere liquid. "What are you doing? Don't you want your hand anymore?" Jabba was terrified when he saw the sight as soon as he arrived. Robin's right hand was about to disappear. His flesh and bone melted and the metallic fluid began to fall through a large hole in the middle of his palm. Robin looked behind him with a smile and said, "Don't worry. It is all right. Let's go." Then he jumped behind Jabba over the Draco and sat down as if nothing had happened. Jabba compelled the Draco south. Terrified of what was happening, he didn't utter a single word. He thought Robin was melting that tablet to punish himself somehow. He didn't know that this tablet was the first oath tablet Robin made when he came into this world. The oath tablet that Robin, Jabba, and Orzon had sworn upon to cooperate and keep their secrets. The oath tablet that Robin swore upon, that he intends no evil towards the giant race. "Tell me more about the strength of the tribes in the northern region, in detail this time." Robin finally spoke after 2 whole days. "I don't think that's a good idea," Jabba replied in a low voice. "Speak," Robin said coldly. Jabba remained silent for a bit, then sighed and said, "The 12 northern tribes took the lion's share of the kingdom of the second heavens chosen. Each of them owns more than 200,000 divine weapons, and they are all much better than the scraps our tribe had before your arrival. And let's not forget the 4th stage of the body-strengthening divine tattoo. The good news about the 4th stage of the body-strengthening divine tattoo is that the tattoo is not widespread among the public, not like the previous 3, and it cannot be bought with money. It is dedicated to the ruling families of those tribes, and not all members of those families either. The 12 families agreed to create a balance between them so that there would not be a power struggle in the future. So they agreed that the number of emperors would always remain equal among their tribes. If a tattoo of the stage degree was drawn on a member of the Azul tribe, for example, the rest of the tribes would be informed, and each family of the other 11 would also choose a candidate of their own to upgrade his body-strengthening divine tattoo to the 4th stage. Because the emperors want to remain unique and respected to the utmost degree possible. And because there is really nothing to gain from adding another emperor to a tribe because the rest of the tribes will follow suit, you won't find many emperor cultivators. According to the Fire Salamander organization, each tribe of the 12 has 27 emperors. Of course, this number is what is announced. Who knows if one of the tribes hides more emperors? Most likely, all of the 12 tribes are. Master, I have heard about the power of emperors a lot. They are not something that dragons and sages can stand against. The difference between them is just extremely wide, in addition to all those superior divine weapons and the strong relations between the 12 tribes. Please rethink whatever you are asking this question for. So the northern region combined has 324 emperors and 1.2 million divine equipment on paper, and there are high chances that there are more, but just a little more as they are too connected and nothing can be hidden if they overdid it. Got it. Robin spoke with a simple tone. But whether the numbers he said or his indifferent manner of pronunciation sent chills down Jabba's spine. After another 2 weeks, the desert of death, the city of hope. We salute the head of our sect, and the elders were standing in line on the tallest building in the city when they heard Jabba and Robin approaching the city again. But Robin ignored them and moved straight towards the military industry cluster. They all looked at each other in astonishment and then jumped off the building and flew behind him silently. 2 minutes later, all the divine tattoo masters and the divine weapon masters immediately gathered in the central plaza. Robin called out using the minor heavenly law of sound, his voice resounding powerfully in the ears of everyone present. Then looked toward a huge building at his right. All the blacksmiths are to come to the central plaza as well. This is a direct order from the sect head. In a moment, large numbers began to emerge from the buildings surrounding Robin like ants. Some looking up in awe at the flying Draco and the dozens of elders. Some talking to each other trying to understand what was happening. In less than a minute, more than 5,000 people of different races appeared in the huge empty land in the middle of the military industries complex. Robin looked down at him for a few seconds and then spoke. Who are your superiors? 3 individuals came forward and stood in front of the 5,000 people and then bowed in full. Greetings, Master Sect Head. How can we serve you? A metal tablet appeared in Robin's hand, then he threw it to the person standing in the middle of the 3 and spoke. Here you will find the details of making a space portal. Whether the metals used to make the foundation of the portal or the resources used in the inks or engraving shapes. Everything is described in details there and everything should go perfectly. Not a single mistake will be forgiven. I will give you 2 weeks to complete it. Space portal? The elders looked at each other in astonishment upon hearing this name. Without waiting for the response of the 3 individuals as to whether the project was possible or not, he silently turned the Draco around and moved toward the largest building in the city, and again all the elders followed him. Inside the administration building, Mr. Sect Head, can we understand what this was? Is this portal related to one of the other regions of the planet? One of the elders asked Robin while he was trying to catch up with him. It's a personal matter, Robin replied frowningly, still advancing quickly on his way, then spoke. Summon whoever charge of the sect's armies to my room. I want to see him today and bring me all the captains of the special forces. I also want all the warehouses and intelligence officials. Bring me whoever is in charge of something that concerned direct warfare. Someone else took a few steps and tried to ask something else, but Robin raised his hand and stopped the sentence in his throat, and looked at the only demon elder. Summon me your king. I have to see him in a week's time. Then he looked toward Jabba's uncle Takar, the council elder that is responsible for everything that concerns the giants, and said, I would like to see Thander too. He and the chiefs of all the tribes who have submitted to us, they have 3 days max to get here. The demon nodded at once, but Takar furrowed his eyebrows. This boy, even with all the authority he has, who gave him the guts to demand Thander to come to him in such a humiliating fashion. The Lightning Tribe is a partner of the sect, not a puppet like the rest of the tribes and the damn demons. Before Takar could reply, Jabba quickly interjected. Of course, he will come in time. I'll work it out myself. Robin nodded once, then turned and walked again until he chose a random room, entered it, and locked himself inside. Everyone started looking at each other and wondering what had just happened. They have all seen Robin just a month ago, and this wasn't him. He was indifferent to anything and laughed sarcastically at everything. He looked like he very much doesn't care about what's happening here. But now he asks for all these meetings? The elders started small talks between them, trying to guess what's going on. But not Takar. He was still fixing his eyes on Jabba. He seemed to tremble all over since he got back. and even now after Robin got to his room he was still looking at it with a terrified expression. He seemed to understand something and then asked, "Speak, boy. What exactly happened in the Azel tribe?" All the elders went silent and looked at Jabba too, waiting for his answer. After a whole minute of silence, Jabba removed his eye off the door, looked at the elders with lost eyes and said, "A disaster has befallen the whole planet. Nahari Union Sect Elders Hall, 7 days later. Focusing the intelligence squad in the sect and all the tribes on getting continuous updates from the northern region. Demanding to double the number of armies many times. Double the number of rune masters and send them to the tribes to draw divine tattoos for everyone for free. What exactly does the sect master intend to do?" One of the elders said, surprised. "Do not forget that he asked to double the lands we dedicate to the herbs we feed the high-level mounts as soon as possible, and to double the numbers of our special forces, and all this within a time limit of 1 year. 1 year," another muttered. "There is also his order to make the inner energy system public and support the cultivators with energy stones. His orders will eat up all the money we have been collecting all along. And for what? Do you think he wants to? He definitely wants to invade the northern region." Someone clenched his hand and spoke. "Even we as the entire United Eastern region won't have this one easy. He wants to destroy the planet for a personal problem. The northern region has emperors. How can we simply attack them? He himself was in favor of staying away from them before. Now, because of a personal problem, he wants to throw us into hell." Another elder stood up and shouted, "This wouldn't do for me. How can the army of my tribe, which has just woken up from multiple devastating battles, plunge itself into a war against the northern region? And in 1 year at that. This is the northern region we are talking about." The chief of one of the 7 giants tribes hit the table, and the rest of the chiefs nodded. The chiefs of the 7 tribes that aligned themselves with the sect, and all the sect elders, the absolute rulers of the eastern region of Nahari, were all here. Under this roof, the highest meeting that had happened since the war against the Second Heavens Chosen has taken place. Thander raised his hand to restore the calmness of the hall, then spoke softly as he looked toward the elders. "Sect head Robin has our utmost respect and appreciation. He is the one who founded this sect for you and made it your safe haven and made you equal to us giants." The sect elders tilted their heads and bit their lips. Even Orzon gave a long sigh. Then he returned to look at the other 6 tribal chiefs. "He also helped us to multiply our lands at least 5 times the size of what it was. He gave us strength and equipment we never dreamed of. And we, for the first time, live in true peace with each other thanks to him." The 6 chiefs also bowed their heads, not knowing what to say. When they swore allegiance to the Nahari Union sect, it was just a lucky test to see if that suspicious sect could really help them. Later they saw for themselves how far they had come thanks to them. Thanks to Robin. But Thunder shouted suddenly and caught everyone's attention again. "Our gratitude to sect head Robin does not mean that we throw our lives into hell against our will because he said so. Don't get me wrong, if sect head Robin wants us to do anything within our limits we must do it, no doubt. But if we are forced to attack the north, then this council that will decide our course, not personal whims." "Well said. You are absolutely right." After Thander finally uttered what was going on in everyone's head, the cheers rose to support his great vision, and the talk in the rest of the meeting became much more open. After another week, the administrative district of Jura City, inside of what looks like a giant metal storehouse. "How is it possible that you haven't discovered anything yet? This might be our biggest discovery since we got here," a middle-aged man shouted forcefully. The aura he released to pressure those present was that of a level 34 sage. "We are sorry, sir. But there are no books or tablets left to explain what this huge edifice is, and everyone who worked on it was under the influence of the Oath Tablet. Some of them died when we tried to force a word out of them." Someone standing behind him spoke while looking at the ground. Shockingly, he was a level 32 sage. That mid-level sage turned in exasperation. "What do you mean by this? Is there no way to decipher this arc? Robin Burton wouldn't build something that big without gaining some huge benefit out of it. The information we got says he spent months inside this warehouse, personally building and engraving on this huge semicircle. We must know everything about this thing. We are working on it. But, replied that low-level sage. But first we need to figure out how to encrypt and show all the runes on the surface, and then carefully study each one of them until we know what we are dealing with. That will take some time. A lot from him, actually. What? You still haven't even been able to decipher the external cipher? Supposedly you are one of the smartest sages in the Empire and one of the most important innovators of techniques in the Empire. You spent thousands of years discovering minor laws and figuring out new attacking techniques. You fool even dared to try to upgrade our major heavenly law fire technique. You are the head of the investigation team. For what was happening in the land. For heaven's sake. We are counting on you to find out what Robin Burton was doing here, but you speak of this weakness. Are you declaring your defeat in front of a boy that didn't even reach 200 years of age? Of course, I can do it. But give me some time. These are things I've never seen or heard about before. I don't know where Robin Burton got all this from. If he is really the one who created it, then he is a genius in every sense of the word. Aren't you ashamed of speaking like a fanboy, old man? Don't give me this crap and just say approximately how long do you need? The mid-level sage said angrily. Ask me this question again in 100 years and might give you an answer. What the hell dash? The mid-level sage almost started yelling when he heard the response of the head of the investigation team, but suddenly the giant semicircle next to him started making strange sounds, and the void in the middle began to turn into a semi-transparent slab. What is happening here? The sage furrowed his eyebrows and fixed his gaze towards the semicircle. The head of the investigation team and all his team behind him watched closely as well, trying their best to memorize what was going on. They have been here studying every bit of the magnificent semicircle for years, but nothing like this happened before. There is someone who came out of nowhere. Is this the use of this huge semicircle? No way. Everyone present inside the metal warehouse was dumbfounded when they saw a young-looking man with a frozen expression coming out of the space portal with his hands behind his back. Even the two sages were dumbfounded as well, but for a different reason. You are Robin Burton, the mid-level sage asked with his eyebrows knotted. Robin shifted his head and looked at him for a few seconds. It looks like I'm still famous even after all these years, but I can't say the same to you. Who are you? And what are you doing on my property? This is Robin Burton? Is this the creator of everything we are investigating? He looks very young, just like the rumors say. I can't believe it's true. Ha 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 ha, excellent. The heavens are helping us. The mid-level sage burst laughing loudly and started walking towards Robin. I bet you didn't swear on an oath tablet to keep your mouth shut as well. Everything we want will be ours at last. The oath tablets? Robin asked with a frown, then a slight smile appeared on his face. It seems like you clowns didn't get anything useful out of this war, huh? The mid-level saint's face twitched. There was no war, only a one-sided genocide, and now we finally got our biggest prize. The mid-level sage's steps stopped when the gate started to glow again and two individuals walked out of it. Or rather, two strange creatures came out. The first was about 2¼ meters long. His skin was dark crimson red like he was soaked in a pool of blood. He had long white hair and two horns about 2 feet long each. The second looks more like an extra-large human, slightly bluish in color, about 3 meters tall, and his muscles were almost exploding from the intensity of the power it holds. The crimson being released a sage aura at the top of the low levels, and the blue giant released an aura of a sage at the top of the middle levels. The sight of the two of them and their aura were enough to make everyone in the metal warehouse take a few steps back in utter terror, even the two sages. Jabba, break that thing's bone for me but keep his life. Robin pointed at the mid-level sage and then continued, Amon, lock the warehouse door and kill whoever tries to get out. Amon immediately jumped towards the door of the warehouse, closed it, and stood in front of it, baring his fangs in readiness to attack at any moment, while Jabba began to move with steady steps towards the mid-level sage, and out of nowhere, a giant war hammer appeared in his hand. You, what exactly are you? What are you going to do? I'm an emissary from the Flame Empire. You dare touch me? Jabba's aura and figure made the mid-level sage's heart drop at his feet. but Jabba was clearly unaffected by his words and continued his way toward him. As for the head of the investigation team, his eyes were still on Robin. "Robin Burton, I have long wanted to meet you. Do I know you?" Robin looked at him from above his nose and spoke. "No, but I know you. I have spent years deciphering your fire explosion talisman, and many more years following all your work on the ancestral continent. You really are a unique person." The investigation team head spoke and then unleashed his low-level sage aura and started to advance toward Robin with a crazed look. "I wonder what will I find if I opened up your head." Amon began to move again towards the head of the investigation team to defend Robin. But his spiritual sense caught Robin raising his hand to him to stand in his place, so he talks a few steps back again and stood to watch. What? Do you think you are my equal? You are obviously still at level 26, just a mid-level saint. Do you think you can take a single blow from me? Ha ha ha. Even the emperors didn't have that kind of strength when they were on your level. What arrogance. The head of the investigation team said angrily. He was preparing for a fight against Amon from the moment he saw him and Jabba advancing for the portal, but it turned out that he wasn't worthy of fighting him. Robin stretched his hand forward. A black spear appeared in it, and began to move toward the head of the investigation squad slowly. "Did I give you permission to decode my work? Where did this spear suddenly appear from? Wait, does this have anything to do with the heavenly path of space? Is it that black ring on your hand? Oh my God! You really are a genius." For a moment the killing intent vanished from the sage's eye, and he looked like a child who saw a toy. "Haha, from today you will become my slave. You will teach me everything you have ever known in your life." During the hysterical laughter of the head of the investigation team, he sent a fist toward Robin, and a sea of pale yellow flame came out. But to his astonishment, Robin didn't panic and didn't ask for help, but instead stabbed forward with his spear toward the oncoming sea of flames. He did not use any heavenly law. There was no wind or specific phenomenon. It wasn't too fast or made with a shiny spear technique. It was just a straight textbook stab. The scene made everyone hold his breath. It was like a cockroach trying to stop a car, a lizard trying to stop a tsunami. What's the use of hitting the intangible flame with a simple spear stab? But quickly the answer revealed itself. The sea of flames had disappeared. What the? The words stuck in the throat of the head of the investigation team. This scene was not something he would have dreamed of in his life. He has heard of attacks that fail, attacks that get dodged, attacks that are repelled, but an attack that disappears. A sea of the third-rate stage major heavenly fire disappears just like that. This is definitely a new one. What did you just do? The nerves of the team leader began to slip. He who is supposed to be one of the smartest men of his time could not think of a single clue to what just happened. But Robin did not care to answer his question and slowly began to advance towards him, dragging the black spear behind him, scratching the ground with every step. "TCH, don't blame me then. I will have my answers while stepping over your head." The head of the investigation team shouted and took a few steps back, and then with a loud shout, "Hiya!" Flames began to burn all over his body and then began to rise rapidly. Even the roof of the metal warehouse began to slowly melt. Then the flames began to morph rapidly until they began to take the form of a huge fire dragon. The head of the investigation team looked up at the fire dragon with a look of admiration and started laughing. Ha ha ha, it's been over 1,000 years since I killed someone using my unique technique. If the dragon descends on you, you are doomed. This is your last chance. Kneel down and swear on an oath tablet that you will be my faithful assistant forever, or else. Robin finally stood still and looked up with eyes radiating a faint golden glow, then raised his spear and sent a stab between the dragon's eyes. The investigation team leader looked at the focused energy beam as it left the spear and slashed its way toward the dragon. "Ha ha ha ha, I thought you were a genius. Do you really think this trivial energy would be enough to scratch my—" The words of the head of the investigation team were interrupted by a shiver that shook the entire warehouse. Immediately after the energy beam reached its target, the fire dragon trembled with a force that nearly shattered the hearts of the onlookers, and then disappeared. It disappeared again. It's not as if the dragon figure that was gone. but the whole fire that made the dragon had disappeared as if it had never existed.
Non. Impossible.
The head of the investigation team took 2 more steps back. Even the rest of his team forgot that they were trying to find a way to escape from Amon and were stuck in their places upon seeing what happened. This was not normal at all. How can fire just disappear this easily? But they did not know that it is not as easy as they see it. This was the new combat method that Jabba suggested to Robin to try, and on which Robin trained for years. Jabba's initial idea was that Robin should make the most of the eyes of truth, the eyes with which he could see the smallest details in the course of the battle. With it he can see the tiny movements of his opponent's body and predict their next step, and most importantly, with which he could see the patterns of any energy attack heading towards him. The idea was somewhat too broad, but by working slowly on it with Robin during many training sessions, they came up with a terrifying new combat system, especially that heavenly laws attacks. Whether the attacks of internal energy law techniques or attacks of offensive divine tattoos all have one thing in common, which is that the user tries to imitate the patterns of law in nature and uses it to his advantage. But imitation has limits. No matter how genius a person is, the law that he uses will have a few lapses and weaknesses during the accelerated combat events. And here comes the new role of Robin's eye to locate the weak points with the eyes of the truth and then use focused natural energy to destroy them. And when a pattern loses just a fraction of the whole, then it collapses. An incomplete fire pattern is just not fire anymore. The eyes of the head of the investigation team were not focused for a few seconds, but he quickly regained his focus that he was in a life-and-death fight, but not the same kind of focus and determination as before. Some fear and insecurities began to creep into his heart. He no longer had absolute confidence that he could subdue or even directly kill Robin without losses anymore. He looked to his side and almost screamed for help from the mid-level sage, but the words got stuck in his throat. The sight of the mid-level sage was heartbreaking. His left hand is broken. One eye is gouged, his clothes are torn, and he can barely balance himself on his feet in front of the giant Jabba. The head of the investigation team looked back at him again at Robin with more focused eyes. Shit. I don't have time for this. I have to finish it quickly and get out of it. Without further ado, the head of the investigation team rushed forward, raising his fist and coating it with layer upon layer of dense energy, clearly making the decision to end Robin with close combat and stay away from using anything from the fire path. The dense layers of energy with which he enveloped his arm should be enough to push the black spear aside in a direct clash and then make its way through to pierce Robin's chest and out of his back. This time there will be no room for any tricks. But the head of the investigation team was distracted again when he saw the black spear disappear, and then Robin took a close fight position and started preparing to throw a punch too. Ha ha ha! The head of the investigation team laughed out loud as if he saw the best joke in the world, and increased his speed. Within a split second, Robin also moved and punched forward, with no laws or any fancy-looking show, just a straight punch straight into the fist of the investigative team head. A punch backed by his full inner power as a middle-level saint, backed by his physical strength as a middle-level shaman, and finally backed by a strength tattoo that temporarily doubled his physical strength 5 times.
Asterisk boom.
Asterisk. The direct clash between the fists of Robin and the low-level sage sent an energy wave in all directions, sending the entire investigation team flying and spitting blood. Even Jabba and the mid-level sage were pushed back a few steps. Then the wave reached the warehouse walls and dented it in the middle. A sound of a strong crash forced Amon to check on his side, and he found the head of the investigation team, or it should be said what was left of him. His entire right arm up to the shoulder no longer exists, and the skin and flesh on the right part of his face also disappeared. If it weren't for Amon was still observing the manifestations of life from this mass of flesh and blood in front of him, he would have thought that the guy is dead. Amon, I accidentally threw a thing towards you. Throw it back to me and focus on your task. Robin spoke in a low voice and pointed toward his foot. Amon kicked the investigation team leader like a garbage bag, and he went down right in front of Robin's feet. That simple kick from Amon was enough to make him cry out in pain. He had no power left in him. It's only that his soul was strong enough to hang in there despite all the damage the body has taken. Ha! 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 The investigation team leader was fighting for his breath, but he was well aware that he was not in a position to suffer in peace. so he held back his cries and slowly looked up. When his gaze met with Robin's, he felt a cold shiver all over his body and let out an involuntary shriek. Only now did he realize how terrifying this indifferent look was. From the beginning, he was nothing in his eyes. Neither his identity as the man who exposed the fire explosion talisman nor his identity as a Flame Empire sage made him enter Robin Burton's eye. From the beginning, Robin saw this end. You, stay where you are. I swear to. I will be your assistant. I am useful. Please. The head of the investigation team muttered with all his what is left of power in him. He was badly startled when Robin leaned forward and extended his arms towards him. What do you mean? The head of the investigation team's tragic cry sent terror into the hearts of the rest of his team. They were the ones who knew the most about their chief's strength and endurance. This was a sage that lived over 2,000 years. What kind of suffering and cruel trials did a man of his age not go through in his life? What kind of pain has he not experienced yet? However, since Robin Burton grabbed his head, he started screaming like a little boy who had been thrown into a fire. Their features turned for the worse and they began to involuntarily take successive steps back. Whatever happens to their boss should not happen to them. But suddenly, there was a GR sound coming from behind them. When they turned around, they found that they were only a few steps away from Amon, and he looked every bit ready to kill them all if they took another step. Is that what it's called between a hammer and an anvil? The investigation team members thought and began to sigh, some of them already accepting his fate. A thud came from behind them all of a sudden. When they looked back, they found their boss was thrown like a dead dog on the ground. While Robin was looking up towards the roof with closed eyes and a clenched fist, it is clear that Robin was trying to hide his feelings by keeping a steady face as much as possible and trying to hold together and regain his balance by looking up and closing his eyes. But how could this escape the senses of the members of the investigation team? They were all old men who had lived for a few hundred years at least. They knew firsthand that the quiet person in front of them was raging. I advise you to go back to where you came from. All this noise and energy fluctuations are enough to draw every attention in the city. They are absolutely on the way. It is a matter of a few more seconds until all the sages and saints in the city surround this warehouse. When they find out what you did, you will be killed in the most horrific way possible. A member of the investigation team panicked and started threatening. Robin remained in position for a few seconds, then opened his eyes, looked to his left, and then made a gesture. When the investigation team followed the path of his eye and were shocked again, Jabba was holding the middle-level saint by the neck. All his bones were broken and all his muscles were cut off. The energy-gathering center in his body was also destroyed. Alive, but his eyes unfocused, he only had a little awareness left. In that state, he definitely wouldn't last a day before the last shred of consciousness vanished. That giant brought the middle-level sage into this state without anyone noticing. They didn't even hear screaming or cracking sounds throughout the process. Second, what happened to the sage's consciousness? How can the consciousness of a person who has lived more than 2,000 years be so easily destroyed? Even if his body reached this image, he should have kept his consciousness in the fullest form. What exactly has been happening to their right the whole time? Following Robin's signal, Jabba started walking towards him, dragging the mid-level sage on the ground behind him, until he reached right in front of Robin and then lifted the meat bag up so that Robin wouldn't need to bother himself and go down for him. Then Robin raised his hand and placed it on either side of the mid-level sage's head. After a few seconds of incessant screaming, Robin finally removed his hands and the last light disappeared from the mid-level sage's eye, finally allowing him to fall to the ground. This time it wasn't simply for Robin to look up or look upset. He was so angry that Jabba took a step back. Robin's eyes turned red and a few drops of blood started to run down the side of his eyes. He looked like he was crying blood instead of tears. The sound of gnashing his teeth ran like knives through the ears of everyone present, and the look of his trembling lips was enough to make their hearts beat like war drums in their chests. After a few seconds more, Robin moved in this state to the warehouse gate, and on the way he looked side by side at Amon. "I got what I wanted. You can have your feast now." A big smile appeared on Amon's face, and he spoke in a coarse voice audibly. "Yes. Ha! What do you buy a feast? Come back here." Don't you know who we are? Stand where you are. Please. The Empire will... H. Robin opened the warehouse door to the fullest and Jabba walked out 2 steps after him, worried about what was going on in Robin's head. But he seemed ready to carry out any orders asked of him. And it seemed that the orders would not wait long either. With a quick glance around and then sending his spiritual sense 200 meters around the warehouse, Jabba immediately knew they were surrounded. There are hundreds of saints around and at least 11 sages among them. All eyes on him and Robin, silently watching what is happening inside the warehouse, but at the same time ready to pounce at any moment. Robin looked around slowly for a few seconds, his blood-red eyes and his trembling lower lip looking like a demon staring out from the bottom of hell. Flame Empire. You have crossed every line. You shouldn't have done that. There is no room left for the 2 of us to live under the same sky. Finally, Robin fixed his gaze in a certain direction and spoke, as if he was pulling every word out of his throat with great difficulty. Then he continued, You all had too much fun here. You have made your statement clear enough. Now you will hear mine. I hereby declare that neither a man nor a woman, neither a weak nor strong, neither an old woman nor a baby, none of you wretches has the right to breathe the air that I breathe any more. You are all dead. Ha ha ha. What a funny man. I was about to ask you to submit and our 2 sages go, but you started joking instead. Laughter came from the direction Robin was looking at, and then a middle-aged man appeared from behind one of the buildings, but once he saw Robin looked serious about it. A high-leveled sage aura overwhelmed both Robin and Jabba. Then he continued, You want to kill everyone in the Flame Empire, huh? You and what army? At that moment, the space portal inside the warehouse suddenly started shining and making sounds again. The sound of heavy footsteps began to echo inside the warehouse. The might of the heavy footsteps and the number of feet causing it made all the saints and sages around the warehouse look at each other in astonishment. Since when did this relatively small metal warehouse contain all these people? Who were they exactly, and how did they get there? Be prepared. They must be of the fleeing troops. Don't let anyone escape this time. The high-leveled sage raised his hand and announced. Yes! A shout resounded from the rest of the sages and saints, and they all began to emerge from their hiding places and take a position of readiness. This was not the first time they had fought the fleeing forces. It will be a tough fight no matter how many are there. Bam 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 bam. The step sounds got very close to the gate and the saints and elders of the Flame Empire started to light fire between their palms, ready to attack at any moment. But all of it was suddenly extinguished. What came out of the warehouse weren't the Burtons' fleeing troops, they weren't even humans, but crimson-colored creatures with long horns and long white hair.
No.
The high-ranking saint took a step back when he sensed the auras of the 20 demons he saw. All of them have the strengths of a sage. Don't panic, it's obvious that they are just monsters without brains. Coordinating our attacks well, we can... The words got stuck in the throat of the high-ranking sage when he saw another row of 20 demons coming out. Then another. Then another. Very soon 220 demons walked out of the metal warehouse's gate. All of them at sagehood. Robin looked back at Amon, who had his 2 hands and teeth drenched in blood, standing at the very front of the demons, then nodded at him. These are the kings and seniors of the demons in the lands of each tribe in the eastern region of Nahari, and even some of the demons who have recently breakthrough into sagehood thanks to the abundance of high-level food that the continuous wars in the past 20 years provided them like Amon. After the sect finishes annexing or destroying a tribe, the Demon King Morin sets out to meet the Demon King of that land and gives him techniques in exchange for loyalty to their god, Robin Burton. That's right, the demon race didn't owe allegiance to the sect like the rest of the giant tribes, but to Robin alone. Even Robin didn't know about this until Morin inadvertently mentioned it to him recently, but by then it was too late to adjust, as Morin had already annexed most of the Demon Kings of the eastern region. Currently, all the Demon Kings in the eastern region are no longer kings, but are representatives to rule their regions under the name of Robin Burton, and none of them has any privilege over another demon of the same level. The only one whom even the previous kings consider to be higher than them and they respect with all their hearts except Robin is none other than Amon. He is the first demon to acquire the unique skills that changed their lives, and he is their direct link with Robin. It can be said that he is the one who brought this blessing to all their race. One way or another, Amon became the newly uncrowned king of demons, even though he was still as powerful as a low-level sage. So during the previous 2 weeks, when Robin announced that he would enter a war in his mother world, Amon was the first to volunteer, and even told Robin to leave the task entirely to the demons. Since there was no strong competition from the rest of the chiefs of the tribes and even the sect to send battalions with him, Robin agreed and handed the whole matter over to Amon. Looking behind him now, it seems that Amon is still yet to disappoint him. Without warning, without saying a single word, the saints and sages of the Flame Empire all began to fly one after the other in different directions. A slight smile appeared on Robin's lips upon seeing this, and then spoke in a low voice, "Besiege the city and then kill off everyone." "Yes," Amon replied verbally in a thick voice with a full bow. Since the demons were able to clearly hear the Nahari language by using the technique that Robin made, they began to try to imitate the sounds to speak in an audible voice. And finally, after millions of years of evolution, some of the demons started saying stuff other than roaring and snarling. They finally began to become an intelligent race in word and deed. After Amon finished his deep bow, he flew towards the Jura city wall, and all the demons behind him did the same. Other than reaching the level of a dragon in body strength, all of them had reached the level of a saint in their inner energy cultivation as well. And because they were used to flying in tens of times higher gravity, in the blink of an eye they were able to bypass the elders of the Flame Empire and reach the city walls before them. And only a few seconds later, screams began to echo the whole city. "No, no. Leave me alone, you devil. I know you are angry, but I think you should have waited before giving that order. Maybe one of your old followers or family members is still inside the city somewhere." Jabba spoke as he saw the horrors taking place over Jura City. Even though he has seen many massacres before, he still hasn't gotten used to how the demons do their business. It is just too bloody. Oh, there are quite a few of them at that, their children and grandchildren and grandgrandchildren. A few hundreds, I guess. Robin spoke coldly, placing his hands behind his back. "Then you are?" Jabba held his eyebrows high. He didn't understand what Robin was indicating. Jabba couldn't finish his sentence before he heard a piercing sound shouting at him, "Robin! Robin! It is really you, you finally came back. It's me, your uncle. I have a lot to tell you about what happened in your absence and those traitors that fled the city when we needed them most. But first, get that creature off me." Quickly, the source of the sound appeared in front of them, a demon clutching the neck of an old saint in his pajamas. The old man only cried out loud and waved at Robin, and the demon kept looking at Robin as if he was waiting for an order from him. "Did you not hear my order the first time?" Robin shouted at the demon with an apparent killing intent. Without a second delay, the demon opened its mouth and took a bite out of the old saint's face. As for Robin, he looked at Jabba with a blank face. "I have no followers nor a family here. Not anymore. Help! Please help me." Blood drenched the streets. Thousands of soldiers and civilians, elderly and newborns, were being massacred and eaten in the streets. "Have you seen this in the memories of one of the sages?" Jabba sighed and asked, ignoring everything that was happening before his eyes. "Yes, the Flame Empire turned the armies of all the other 7 kingdoms against the Burton family and provided them with 40 sages and hundreds of saints. Millions of soldiers flocked from all directions to uproot my family and capture me. They liked the idea of the fire explosion rune, but instead of trying to communicate with me about it, they decided to destroy everything and take me as a prisoner. Have you ever heard of more arrogance than this before? But they didn't know that I left to my followers the major heavenly laws and commanded them to take care of our special troops and increase their numbers. So when the war came to Jura, there were more than 30,000 saints protecting the city, even without sages in the family. The 30,000 saints held their ground and created a historical epic against the combined army of 7 kingdoms. This city, my city, was besieged by 4 million soldiers for 3 continuous months. None of them was able to cross the walls thanks to the coordinated attacks among the family saints. Their food, water, medicine, and other necessary supplies almost ran out because of their huge numbers and the strong battles they have to face every day. The generals of the 7 royal armies were pressuring the imperial sages to withdraw and regroup before their food and water runs out and their millions of soldiers started to die from hunger. And indeed everyone expected their withdrawal at any moment after the 3rd month. But to everyone's surprise, the Black Sun royal family began sending supplies of food and even weapons to that allied army. Nysa and the Duchy of Evran, one of our own, sent an additional 300,000 soldiers with all their saints and knights to support the attack on us and also opened what appeared like an endless supply line for the allied army. Black Sun royal family? You mean the royal family of the kingdom your family lives in? Jabba was stunned. Exactly. It is clear that they were afraid that the allied army would attack them out of anger on their way to withdraw, or perhaps they were afraid of the real strength of the Burton family which they showed during the siege. The important thing is that because of what they and the Duchy of Evran had done, the siege seemed as if it would never end. Robin nodded and continued. Every day that passed the Burton Saints succeeded in killing thousands of enemy soldiers, but the enemy sages were succeeding in hunting dozens of my family's saints. And this went on for another 3 months. Then he looked in a certain direction and saw a man being eaten in cold blood. All the elders of the Burton family who are in the city now saw that the demise was coming, so they decided to destroy the main gate from the inside and allowed the allied enemy army to flood the city with soldiers within minutes. Because of them, 50% of the city's citizens were killed, 49% were imprisoned or enslaved, and the rest are those close to those elders and their friends and the big merchants who surrendered to the invaders. The families of Bradley, Rufus, and Camden have also been destroyed the same way because they stood with the Burton family to the end. Many of them were killed, including my father-in-law, Galen Bradley, and the rest were imprisoned or turned into slavery. Jabba clenched his hand. On his way to this world, he was praying for good news to make his master's psychic's condition change even a little. But Jabba sighed and then asked, "What happened to your adopted sons and the rest of your followers?" After the enemies entered the city and it became impossible to defend it, all the special forces gathered around my 4 sons, and they, in turn, gathered around Mila and Richard until they escorted them here to the warehouse, where a suitable amount of energy stones had been prepared in it previously, and they urged Mila to take Richard and come to me through the gate. I'm not sure what happened in the warehouse that day, but Mila most likely agreed to protect her son, and after everyone made sure that they were sent to me, thinking that they were safe that way, the special forces, accompanied by my children, my friend Billy, the patriarch, and a few elders from the family moved out of the city, and no one was able to stop them. They are now what they call the fleeing troops. Robin began to explain the events he had seen, but with every word, he said he saw the events in front of his eyes. He can clearly see through the eyes of that mid-level sage all those saints surrounding the warehouse and defending it desperately. He sees Mila and his 10-year-old Richard crying as they refuse to run away and let their comrades face death in their stead. "So the rest of your comrades are safe now?" Jabba asked quickly, finally finding something positive about it. "Almost 2/3 of the family saints are dead. The patriarch and the rest of the elders who chose to fight are dead. Caesar and Alfred Marley were captured and sent somewhere. But other than that, everything is perfect," Robin said sarcastically. "Your eldest son, Caesar, has been captured. What happened? And where is he exactly now?" "And who is Alfred Marley?" asked Jabba, shocked, as if the problems so far were not enough. The fleeing troops were surrounded one day, so Caesar used the united attack technique I taught him and remained in his place to fight off their enemies. The patriarch and the rest of the elders decided to stay as well in a suicide attempt to give the youth a chance to escape. As for Alfred Marley, he is a prince from the Black Sun royal family. He did not like his father's decisions, so he decided to call his guards and return and defend Jura with his own hands. His father declared his disavowal if he did it, but this did not stop him, and he was one of those who volunteered for the suicide attempt to stop the enemies. But in the end, he and Caesar were captured and the rest were killed. As for where they were taken, I don't know, I just know that they are being tormented somewhere. Soul search technique is still in its initial phase. Those 2 sages died before I knew all I wanted. Jabba lowered his head and clenched his hands tightly, as if he wanted to break them. The situation on his master's mother planet is worse than he expected. What does this mean for his master's future? What would this mean for Nahari's future? Will Robin come back to take care of what's going on there? He basically didn't care for a long time, and now this happened. I noticed that you used the law of gravity to break through to knighthood. I realized that you did this to help me in this war, so thank you. Robin looked at his side and patted Jabba's arm gently. He knew this wasn't an easy decision for him. Jabba has been delaying building his pillars for almost 20 years now, waiting the day he builds them with the Truthmaster law, but he didn't hesitate when he was in the current situation and decided on the major heavenly law of gravity to build his first pillars with. He has basically forsaken his dream to be more useful in the incoming wars. Then Robin continued without waiting for Jabba's reply. After the demons finish their work and clean up the city for every filth, tell Amon to go back to Nahari and bring all the demons who are at saint level in terms of internal energy or shaman in terms of physical strength. He should get them and come back to me as soon as possible. I have a general idea of where Billy and the rest of the fleeing troops are currently, but we will need much more power to rescue them. All right, I will tell him. Jabba nodded, already feeling a little proud that Robin praised and even thanked him. Good, good. I'm going for a little walk. Don't follow me. Robin patted Jabba's arm again with a slight smile, chose a direction, and walked with uncertain steps. 1 week later. Is he still sitting there? Amon came from behind Jabba and spoke in a hoarse voice. Jabba nodded. He didn't move a muscle. Choose your words with him. I don't think he is in a good mood. Who? Amon let out a long exhale and moved toward Robin. Asterisk step. Step. Asterisk. Amon reached a distance of 2 meters from Robin, then stood still and put his hands behind his back without saying a word. After a few minutes, Robin took a long inhale and spoke. Did you finish your task? Yes, I managed to bring 100,000 demons at the level of a saint or a shaman, and I also brought the rest of the dragon or sage level. Their total number reached 540, and I also brought a swarm of Dracos for transportation. Everyone is waiting for your orders. Robin nodded and stood up a few seconds later. Come on then, we are already late. Robin walked over towards Amon and Jabba, revealing his clothes and hands that were smeared with mud, and showed behind him 2 graves, one with the name of Caitlin Burton written on it and the other carrying the name of Mila Burton. One contains the bones of Burton's mother, while the other contains a few used pieces of women's clothing and jewelry. 2 hours later, above a mountain west of the kingdom of Oclea. The forefront forces hold on for a few more minutes. Don't waste all your effort till now for nothing, Billy shouted at his soldiers. The reserve forces. Move your asses already and get out there. Years passed and Billy and his forces moved from place to place and from kingdom to kingdom, destroying cities, villages, and garrisons, then disappearing like ghosts. When the war began, the Burton family had about 30,000 saints, most of them being low-level saints. But with the storming of Jura City and being chased by United Special Forces from the rest of the kingdoms and backed by forces from the Flame Empire from that day on, their numbers have decreased at an insane rate until they reached a total of less than 10,000. 20,000 dead saints in 10 years. That was more than the total of killed saints in the wars between the 8 kingdoms in the past 15,000 years. But this wasn't very good news for the kingdoms either. The remaining special forces that managed to survive all these years all became mid- or high-level saints. That's a force of 10,000 angry mid- or high-level saints that are using perfect major heavenly law techniques. Even after clipping the numbers to a third of what it was, those 10,000 saints were literally a nightmare to everyone on the continent. It is worth mentioning that each royal army had previously only sent 500 saints to invade the Burton family, and this was their limit of antagonizing the saints of all families. Since fleeing Jura, Billy frequently commanded his forces to separate and wreak havoc throughout the continent as punishment for what they had done to Jura City. He and the men of the family decided that if they had to die, they would not die alone. The amount of damage or death they inflicted on the 8 kingdoms can no longer be counted. Yes, the 8 kingdoms. The Black Sun Kingdom's royal family's aid to their enemies did not go unnoticed. They were among Billis's targets. The Flame Empire didn't care what those fugitives did at first, because in Empire's eyes their fate was sealed no matter what they did. In the end, they would be captured. But after seeing their plans, and the actual destruction they are causing in the continent, the Flame Empire began to send more saints and sages to the ancestral continent in order to subdue them. Today, as every day, Billy and his soldiers were destined to fight a battle. But this time it was not like the others. The Flame Empire kept pressing the fleeing troops until they crammed them into the far east of the continent. It was true that this caused the destruction of almost half of the Oclea kingdom doing so, but this was collateral damage for both sides of the conflict. Currently, Billy and his men were fighting an army of 20,000 knights, 5,000 saints, and 100 sages. The 31st and 32nd Division. Head to the left and use the White Fire Shield. 16th Wind Division. Support the mid-front. Billy shouted loudly. This battle has been going on for days now. Billy occupied the top of a mountain and distributed his soldiers in an organized fashion so that they would have the advantage of the higher ground. In fact, if not for his plan to have a portion of the Wind Legion support the Flame Legion by fanning and amplifying their flames, the battle might have already ended. An enormous white flame dragon spewed fire at the Empire's allied army from above. With this attack alone, it killed more than 20 knights and injured a few saints. The white flame dragon was similar to the one the head of the investigation team tried to attack Robin by in the warehouse. But something was amiss. Whether this dragon's angry facial expressions and roar or his behavior and the way he avoids attacks and chooses his targets carefully. It looks like a real living dragon and not just an image formed by fire. But they didn't know it was actually alive. Zara, I want your dragon in the eastern front. They are starting to make a hole in our forces there. Billy yelled. Yes, Zara answered. Then the enormous white fire dragon began to move towards its new location, spewing fire all its way. This was the unique ability of the heavenly major law of life, revival. This dragon was just a flame that 20 Fire Legion saints had joined forces to form, and then Zara came and injected life into it. The dragon has the power of 20 saints combined and has its own consciousness to act independently, and at the same time it also feels compelled to serve the one who gave it life. The flame dragon that was born out of nothing became a new strong ally of Zara, at least temporarily. The dragon would turn into mere fire and disintegrate into thin air after Zara was exhausted by the pressure of this overbearing technique. Yet temporarily was more than enough to leave a mark in battle. And it's not only her. Several other figures of white flames of phoenixes and dragons are also roaming over the battlefield, all under the control of the other members of the Life Legion. All the strength and diversity, and yet Billy stood watching his soldiers being killed one by the sages. If Caesar was here, he could have used the combined attacks to kill some of them and threaten the others, but now, they are simply peerless on the battlefield. If the situation continues as it is, they will have to flee again. But the numbers of the sages participating in the battle this time indicate that most of the Burton Saints will die before they succeed. That's if they succeed at all. At that moment, a loud shriek resounded over the battlefield, taking all the attention towards it. When Billy looked toward the source, he was surprised that the sky had changed color from so many flying beasts coming their way. Billy was taken aback and was about to shout at his troops to look out. But a familiar face standing above the beast at the front caught his eyes. Robin? Robin. It's Robin. It's really Robin, haha. Father. Father. I'm here. His Excellency has returned to us. The sudden haughty cheers and the happy faces of the Burton's troops attracted the attention of the sages of the Flame Empire allied army. They all threw their caution aside and looked behind them to see what the Burtons were happy about, but their features did not know the same happiness.
Choc. Surprise.
Alert. Mixed feelings hit the Empire's allied army when they saw the massive Draco fleet. The battle has already stopped. Part of them is looking at the incoming winged beasts, raising their weapons and shouting happily, and the other part is looking visibly anxious. Although they did not know who or what they were, as long as the fleeing Burton troops are happy with their arrival, it is certainly not good news. They say, Robin. One of the sages from the Flame Empire finally remarked. Like Robin Burton? The one we have been looking for all these years? Can't you see their reactions? Only Robin Burton can give them that fake morale boost even though they are on the verge of death. He's the one who got them to this state from the first state, yet they are still pinning their hopes on him. What a bunch of idiots. Another sage said and floated up. The rest of the sages on the Flame Empire also began to float up to meet the winged beasts. One by one they started to furrow their brows after reaching a certain height. Only now they noticed that above each of the winged beasts lay a number of crimson-colored creatures with long horns. The shape of those creatures alone caused their heartbeat to slow down. And their aura. Saints? There are thousands of them. One of the Imperial sages suddenly shouted after confirming the aura of a few demons. Look at that over there. The power of his aura is close to mine. Another low-level sage pointed at Amon, opening his eyes to the last of them. At last, the Draco fleet reached a distance of 500 meters from the sages in front of them, and then Robin raised his hand, and all the Dracos stopped and started beating their wings heavily to stay in midair. You there, introduce yourself. And what the hell are those crimson things behind you? The sage who was flying in the middle of the rest stepped forward and shouted toward Robin, releasing his high-ranking Saint aura. Robin looked at him speechlessly for about 2 seconds, then down and started moving his eyeballs until he found Billy. Are you all right? Ha ha ha, yeah. I'm right, you late bastard. I'm all right. Billy's eyes started to moist when he heard Robin's voice again and confirmed it was him. There is something a little different in his features and his voice. It seemed like it has become somehow colder. But this is undoubtedly his friend Robin. Then Robin moved his eyes to locate 3 of the closest and dearest people to him. He was happy enough that he was able to see them whole, but his heart clenched when he saw their condition. Zara and Peon and Theo were all covered in blood, mud, and wounds. Especially so for Theo. Robin hardly knew him from the many injuries to his face and body. He and the rest of the Darkness Legion carry out operations behind the enemy lines to destroy their ranks and distract them. The Dark Legion was one of the most important factors that enabled the rest to survive despite the continuous fighting for days, but did not it was without consequences. They are not hunting ordinary soldiers this time, but saints. In each operation, the forces of darkness were besieged and some are killed and others are injured. It was clear from their numbers now that they would be the first legion to be exterminated in this battle out of the 4. However, the 3 smiled in their hearts when they saw their father again, forgetting their fatigue. Zara almost even flew towards him, weeping with happiness, but her Life Legion colleagues caught her leg and brought her back to the ground in time, afraid that she would be an easy target. Sorry, I know I'm late. Robin felt a little cold in his chest when he saw them and spoke. Yeah, what a heartwarming reunion. Sorry to interrupt, but the good news is that you will meet again in prison shortly. The sage of the Empire standing in the middle said mockingly, drawing Robin's attention. Robin looked at that sage for a moment. Mason Barnett, level 39 sage, head of the expedition that came from the Empire to investigate my affairs, the one who issued the order to destroy my Jura. Hope you are ready to face the consequences. The sage raised his eyebrow, a little surprised that Robin knew his name and status as they just met. Face the consequences? Ha ha ha, do you think those beasts you brought can stand before the major heavenly law of fire because they have the numerical advantage? By myself, I will roast them all. A half-smile appeared on Robin's face and then he looked to his left. His eye fell on one of the demons and spoke in an odd language. Soccer, you know what to do. I will make it painful. Soccer, one of the strongest demon kings in the eastern region, gave a big scary smile that showed his giant fangs. Then he flew over the Draco he was standing on towards Sage Mason. I don't know what kind of an ugly thing are you, but it wouldn't matter. Come and taste the real major heavenly law of fire. Mason laughed coldly, gestured for the rest behind him to back off, and then lit a faint yellow flame in his right hand. Soccer roared like an angry beast when he saw the faint yellow flame, and then shouted in a raspy, chilling voice. What is this? Polluted flame. You dare show it to my master? Unforgivable. Ha! White flames appeared on Soccer's hand as he approached his target. The same white flames with which the Flame Corps had tormented him over the course of 10 years. Although Mason didn't understand a word of what Soccer said, he understood something. He was angry at him for some reason. Quickly, he tried to raise his defenses to repel the attack and then finish this demon with one blow to prove his strength. But before he raised his hand to fend it off, He received a punch from Soccer that knocked him out a few teeth, and his pale yellow flame was completely burnt when it touched the white flame, and he was sent flying like a meteor to the ground. "General!" The sages behind Mason shouted when they saw this. Some of them rushed towards him to see if he is okay, and some rushed towards Soccer to stop him from pursuing their general any longer. Several shades of crimson ran past Robin at that moment, and all the demons with a dragon in body strength or a sage in inner energy rushed towards the Empire sages. In a split second, every sage found himself facing a demon or more. They didn't even know where they appeared from. "Ah! Stay back, you damn thing, or I will burn you down." As if the demons had become deaf and dumb again, they attacked immediately and without introductions or warm-ups. They didn't start small talks or tried to get in lines or coordinate their attacks. Every attack from the demons was so ruthless that it seemed as if they wanted to eat part of their opponents, which terrified the sages of the Empire greatly. They didn't know that they were actually planning to eat them. The physical strength of the demons was enough to beat any sage at the same level easily. Whether their strength or speed had taken a huge leap since coming to this world, their physical design was simply a level above the creatures of this world. And now these creatures can use the power of the heavenly laws as well. "No, no, get away from me. Get away from me."
No AH.
A cry from an Empire sage came out as his defenses were breached, fearing that the demon would deal a fatal blow. But instead of sending a punch or a kick, the demon moved its head forward and took a bite of the sage's neck, then gulped. "What the hell? Those things eat humans? Damn! Get into the defensive array. Help! Help me! Please! Someone kill me!" Miserable cries coming from beneath the ongoing battle finally made the Empire sages remember that their general had just been tossed to the ground minutes ago. "General Mason, I'm afraid we can't break free and come for you. You must find a way and come to the defensive formation at once, or else you might." One of the sages shouted for his general to get up from the ground and join them, but the words got stuck in his throat once he sent a low-level demon sage flying and looked beneath him. He did not find General Mason, the man whose will changes everything under the heavens, the man who moved all the 8 kingdoms' armies just by saying the words. He only saw a man lying on the ground, with Demon King Soccer stomping on his face, while he ate his legs slowly, but seeing carefully, that man's clothes and whatever was still visible on his face under Soccer's foot. This man was undoubtedly their general. General Mason Barnett, the level 39 sage, was being eaten alive from the bottom up helplessly. He could do nothing but scream and weep in pain. One of Mason's old friends lost his mind when he saw this terrifying sight, broke the defensive formation, and rushed down. But he couldn't advance much. A demon came from his side like a flash of red light, and with a swift claw strike, that sage's head was separated from his body. That sage's head fell to the ground, his eyes still filled with determination to save his old friend. The weapons of the knights and saints of the Imperial Allied forces began to fall to the ground in succession from what they saw. Some even wet their pants and others started crying. What brought us here? A question that resonated in everyone's mind at this point. Most of them were special forces from the 8 kingdoms who were sent to follow the orders of the sages of the Empire and eliminate the rebels. But do they really have anything to do with this? "We must help them." One of the saints spoke in a shaky voice. "When they finish with the sages, they will come after us for sure. We must help our sages. We are 5,000 saints and they only have 200 beasts. We can undoubtedly make a difference if we help our sages. We can kill them. Come on." As that saint was talking, he began to convince himself. He manages to gain some momentum and started flowing up. The rest of the saints from the Alliance also started looking at each other and then made up their minds and flew after him too. They must kill those beasts, or it will be their turn shortly after. Tisk, when Robin detected the saints approaching from below, he raised his hand and gave a signal with an annoyed expression. The rest of the demons who were still on the backs of the Dracos started jumping and descending one by one. What? The first saint who flew upwards was extremely surprised when he saw a demon descending towards him with full speed, his terrifying face looking at him and his jaws wide open. Damn! There are more of them! Because the Draco swarm was standing in the air so high, no one below could see clearly what was above their backs. Or perhaps nobody wanted to check it out for fear of what they might find. Oh my! Billy muttered as he took a step back, his face transforming from happiness at Robin's arrival to utter horror. The scene in front of him looked as if the sky was overcast with Draco clouds that starting to rain demons. All of Billy's soldiers let their weapons touch the ground as well. Fear filled their faces, even though they would not have asked for such a hideous death for their enemies. Run! An Alliance Saint shouted and flew over the heads of Billy and his army. Then more followed behind him. Billy! A strong shout from Robin woke up Billy and the rest of his soldiers from their daze. Yes. Block the road. Don't let anyone pass over us. This is our chance to get our revenge, guys. Billy raised his sword and flew behind one of the saints who were trying to escape and attacked him. Although the fight swiftly was fierce between them, both of them were putting an eye on their opponent and an eye on what was happening behind them. About 20,000 demons descended from above those winged beasts. Some of them clashed with the 5,000 saints of the Alliance, and the rest descended on the Alliance Knights as a group of lions and found a flock of innocent little sheep. Atrocity, massacre. No one found a word to describe what is happening right now. Please let me go. Please, I don't want to be eaten. I have children waiting for me at home. The saint fighting Billy retreated a few meters and prostrated in the air towards Billy, and started crying. Bailey hesitated when he saw this, then looked toward what was happening behind him. Damn! Billy clenched his fists tightly and then looked at that saint again. Okay, you can go, but you mustn't come after us again, and Billy's eyes widened at the last of them. Someone came from behind the prostrated saint, grabbed him by the nape, and turned him into a blaze of an extremely dark flame. Billy felt as if his soul was leaving him when he sensed the aura of that flame. Everything happened in an instant. Billy couldn't even make a reaction, but moments later he was able to see the person who did it from behind the black flame. Robin? Humph! Robin threw the charred corpse aside and cleaned his hands as if he was holding his trash bag. I saw this person. He was one of the busiest participants in the Jura massacre. He single-handedly killed dozens of your family, and he was intending to kill you now, but you almost let him escape? If you acted that soft, then what will the rest of your men do? What is wrong with you? Billy looked down, not knowing what to say. Go back and construct a proper siege. Don't allow another one of them to escape. Or don't blame me if I punish you according to the military laws. Robin pointed towards the battle. Billy followed Robin's thump and looked behind him at the atrocities that were taking place. His men were fighting with a quarter of their usual strength. They looked horrified. Even though they knew these creatures were helping them, they felt the need to escape with the Empire allied forces. He looked back at Robin for a moment, as if he wanted to stop what was happening. But he found a cold, emotionless face. So he flew back into the arena. Damn it! Get yourselves into Formation 0. You don't have to participate in the killing, but don't let one of them escape. Push them to the back and let those beings do their work. If one of you goes against the order, he will be considered a traitor. Yes! The Burton Special Forces shouted and began to take tight defensive formations. No, let's pass. Just let me pass or kill me yourself. Half an hour later. Salute His Excellency. We salute Robin Burton. About 9,000 saints got down on one knee and shouted in unison. Father! Woa! Zara ran and fell into Robin's chest and started weeping bitterly, forgetting for an instant that she was the leader of hundreds of saints in the Life Legion and a fierce fighter who had fought countless battles and taken countless lives. Take it easy. I'm here now. Robin held her closer to him and gently stroked her hair with a slight smile. This was the first genuine smile that appeared on his face since he left for Nahari. For the first time in 21 years, his smile was not fake. There were no pride or joy behind it, just love and a sense of relief. Although Zara is now more than 40 years old, in his eyes, she is still the same child he rescued from slavery when she was 8 years old. Then he looked around him again and found two familiar young men. He opened one of his arms and spoke with the same gentle smile. What are you waiting for? Theo and Peon looked at each other for a moment and then rushed into Robin's embrace as well. The last 2 decades have been too hard for them. Only after he left did the two of them know how dependent they were on him. Finally, After about a minute, Robin let them go and looked behind him, and then pointed out, "This is Jabba, my first and only disciple at the moment. You can count on him for anything you want help with. And this is Amon of the demon race, and he is one of my loyal followers. If you want to move the demons or anything related to them, just talk to him and he will arrange it. Just use the thoughts conveying technique, as they don't understand our language yet." Then he addressed a word to Jabba and Amon in Nahari's language. "These three are my adopted children, Theo, Peon, and Zara. If they ask you for something, don't hesitate to do it, and if you need anything too, they are there for you. All right?" "Understood." The five nodded, and then Peon and Theo moved and shook hands with Jabba and Amon. There was still some dread in their hearts for the giant and the other creature who seemed to have crawled out of the bottom of hell. But as long as they followed their father, everything was fine. Not only that, but rather a certain safe and prideful feeling began to appear in their hearts as their father managed to get these powerful creatures to work for him. But this is only to be expected. Robin looked around trying to find a certain person, until finally his eyes fell in a certain direction, and spoke, "Hey, how long are you going to keep staring there?" Billy was still wide-eyed and looking at a demon eating the liver of one of the sages of the Flame Empire as if he was eating candy, and not only him, but the entire Flame Empire army had been wiped out and was being eaten with pleasure now before his eyes. Although the Burton family's army testified that these demons came to their rescue and did not touch one of them with harm, they unconsciously maintained the defensive formation even while saluting Robin. The horror they are seeing isn't something you can just overlook. How can a rabbit feel safe in the presence of a wolf, even if it helped him once? "Billy!" A shout again from Robin woke Billy from his disorientation, and he looked at Robin. "These are? Don't worry about them. They know when to eat and when to stop. Tell the men to rest too. It is all right." He spoke with a slight smile and then continued, "After you finish sorting things out, I want to see you alone. All right? I'll meet you in that tent there in a quarter of an hour." Billy nodded and went to check on the men and start setting up a camp. After a quarter of an hour, the commander's tent. Billy raised the curtain and walked in, looking worried. "Robin, are you sure these things will behave? Are you sure they will follow your orders? There are about 20,000 of them out there. If they go crazy, we are all dead. The men are terrified outside. They were living on eating beasts and mortals. Without me, they would not dream of tasting the taste of cultivators of the level of a saint or a sage. They would not have even dreamed of seeing, hearing, and talking. Don't worry, they will do what they are asked," Robin said with a small smile and then pointed toward the chair. Billy didn't understand anything of what Robin was saying, but understood enough to know that Robin had great faith in them. So he let out a long sigh and went to sit down smiling. "I didn't expect to see you today. I didn't expect to see you again at all. Seeing you here with that army, you came back knowing that we are in trouble? It must be Mila. When you were still late after Mila and Richard went to you, we thought that something bad happened to you three, or you thought it was useless to come back and forsaken us, but it is clear that you met in the end. That is reassuring." Robin kept staring at Billy for about 5 seconds, after which he forced himself to move his left cheek to form a half-smile and nodded. "Tell me about your trip. And how did you know we were here?" Billy asked. When I found out what was going on here, I used the major heavenly space law to reverse the coordinates I got from the all-seeing God to locate this planet, and then again used major heavenly space law to connect the gate in Jura and the gate in Nahari. The two gates working together made us arrive almost instantaneously after. If it took me 8 days for the one-way trip to Nahari when I left, it also greatly reduced the cost of sending one person. Robin replied and then continued. "After I got here, I caught 2 sages. I performed a soul search on them, and one of them knew about the hunt and siege that would be imposed on you in this area. So I came immediately after the army assembled. So you and all those demons descended on Jura City? At the metal warehouse? What happened there?" asked Billy, looking frustrated. Jura had always been on his mind since they ran away years ago, but he and his troops didn't dare to come back. "Jura has returned to us. Most of its inhabitants were killed or became slaves after the conquest of the empire, and most of its defenses and towers fell. But otherwise, it has returned to us," Robin said with a painful expression. "Ha ha ha. That is great. As long as the city is there, we can always rebuild it. Billy laughed loudly and hit his hip. Then the laughter went away immediately as if he remembered something. That is bad. Who did you leave in charge of the city after you left? Don't worry. The ones you fear are still swimming in the bellies of demons out there, Robin replied with an emotionless face. Billy gave a long sigh and started rubbing his forehead. I was so angry at them that I was about to order Theo to send a suicide squad of the Darkness Legion to assassinate them. But I held myself back. Actually, part of me was happy with what they did. We who tried to resist till the end were doomed to die no matter how long our resistance lasted. But their actions at least gave life to some bearers of the Burton surname. We fought without fear because we know that the family name will not be erased after our death. It seems you didn't hear much after your escape? Those traitors didn't just cause you to escape. After the Empire entered the city, they killed half of the family and enslaved most of the other half. The ones who were left unharmed are those traitors and their descendants. It was better to issue the order and kill them off than for them to live on and be the new face of the family. You don't have to pity them, Billy. They got just what they deserved. Robin spoke in a low voice, but also in apparent exasperation. Yet, Billy muttered in a low voice when he heard Robin's words. He didn't find it wrong to punish them as they are safe now, but feeding them to those demons? He had seen with his own eyes how cruel this sight is. No human being should go through this, even those traitors. Tell me what you know about empires. Robin changed the subject and asked. Billy gave a long sigh and then continued. In the past, after the Sacred Tree Emperor discovered the major law of plants and became the first person to discover a major law and the most powerful person on the continent, he established a large empire and he and his family controlled the whole world at that time, but he quickly found that the place is too tight for them. So one day he decided to go on an exploration trip outside the boundaries of known lands. After a few years, he came back and used the major plant law to make gigantic wooden ships and then took all his family on them, and forcibly took a few other lesser families, I think they are the servants and workers or something like that, and then simply disappeared as if they didn't exist. Were it not for the historical evidence of their existence, we would have thought that they were just a fantasy story. Then the Emperor of Wind came along, then the Emperor of Water, and finally the Emperor of Flame. All of them went out to explore after proving themselves as the rulers of the known world, and after their return, they took all their family members and loyal followers' families and then disappeared on huge ships. We did not know where they are going. Their mystery continued until the Great War Ear. A massive war broke out all over the known because there was no one powerful entity to rule anymore. Every big family that exists wanted to take a piece of the cake, and everyone started slaughtering each other to secure some land for themselves. Even our Burton family was participating heavily in that war alongside the Marley family. After a few decades from the start of the Great War, very powerful people appeared who claimed to be from the Four Empires and that what was happening in the ancestor continent affected the serenity of the rest of the world. And they directly supported 8 families to quickly win their wars, and those 8 families, later on, established the 8 kingdoms, and then the 4 empires made some laws that the kingdoms should obey, or else they were punished severely. The royal families over the years have had intermittent contact with the empires and have learned a few things about them. Alfred Marley told us all he knows. It turns out that they did not disappear and did not go to a higher world as the people thought, but rather went to other neighboring continents, undiscovered continents full of minerals, unique beasts, and an abundance of energy stones, each and every one of them a paradise full of untapped natural resources. Those continents should have been a new sanctuary for everyone. But now each of the continents is at the disposal of just one family. Alfred told us that there are 6 continents in the world, the first one the continent from which creation began, and the inhabitants of empires call it the land of the ancestors. As for the 4 empires, each of them controls a continent alone. As for the 6th central continent, it is not yet inhabited by humans, and the 4 empires use it as land for training their young and conducting training battles between them, and if there is an important resource in it, then a challenge among the young generation will determine the empire that takes that resource. Billy spoke in one breath. The Flame Empire is occupying a continent of their own, so that's where I saw Caesar and the rest being held. Do you know where the Fire Empire content is exactly? Robin asked.
No.
Wait, Caesar is still alive. That's excellent. Billy shook his head. then yelled. You don't know, huh? It's okay. I have another way to know where they are exactly. Tell me, have there been any problems between the four empires during the last millennium? Robin asked. Billy shook his head. Not in the past millennium and not before that either. There is simply nothing to fight over. Do you imagine? One family has an entire continent at their disposal. If they lived another 1,000,000 years, they wouldn't need anything else. Why would they fight amongst themselves? I really envy them for this life. They have true peace. Not for long, Robin replied. Excuse me? Billy asked when he heard this, raising his eyebrows. Leave them for now and tell me about the current general situation in our ancestral continent. Robin spoke of the topic. The general situation in the ancestor continent completely changed after their decision to obey the orders of the Flame Empire and attack us. We had nowhere to escape anyway, so we had to take revenge as much as possible. Almost 10 years have passed since Jura was overrun. And since then my forces and I have been flying from city to city and kingdom to kingdom, destroying everything that comes before our eyes. All kingdoms have fallen to 40% of their original strength during the past 10 years. We tried to attack the two capitals of the kingdoms of Oclea and the Lying Water to uproot the royal families there completely, but both of them fled before we arrived, so we destroyed the two capitals and fled. We suffered a large number of losses as a result of that as well, but we did not focus much on the subject. We knew are all dead in the end. We even stooped counting our deaths a few years ago. We intended to annihilate 1 or 2 kingdoms completely before the last of us gets killed. But you are here now, with the help of those 20,000 demons outside. We can reoccupy and refortify Jura City again. We can slowly grow the Burton family again and make everyone fear us once more. Billy spoke excitedly. But he was surprised by Robin's reply. No, your original plan is good. I'll walk through it too. My original plan? Yes, I will destroy everyone first, then I will think about the next stage. But there is a slight modification to your original plan. Now it will not be a suicide plan. Didn't you hear what I was saying? I had 30,000 saints, but we failed to completely destroy any kingdom. If we add the 20,000 demons and the 200 demon sages outside, they will help you against 1 or 2 kingdoms, that's for sure, maybe 3 kingdoms, but in the end, the Flame Empire will send more men. We will be greatly damaged, and we will be surrounded again like what happened today. Why don't we keep our forces until we regrow our family? With you here, we will have a better army and better defenses. Then we can really take revenge. Billy said quickly. I have a few times the number of those demons in Jura ready to head my orders. They are more than enough to eat everyone who participated in the Jura City massacre. Robin replied coldly. 3 times? A moment. Did you just say eat? No. The appearance of those demons alone will cause panic everywhere. They are already making you look like the King Devil King incarnate. And now you want people from other kingdoms to see them eat their relatives under your orders? You have to reconsider. Didn't you want to spread justice? Didn't you want to normalize the good life to make everyone love to serve us? What about the charity you started? You will say goodbye to all of this forever if you do what you say. Billy panicked and spoke. He himself was still terrified of those demons, even though he was on their side. I was so adorable back then. Huh? Too adorable. Robin laughed sarcastically and shook his head. You don't have to worry about my petty requests like this anymore. Secondly, I want to feed the demons to get them stronger anyway. Robin, what exactly happened to you? Billy reached for his hand and put it on Robin's knee with an expression filled with questioning and even some sadness. This wasn't his friend. I'm fine. I have never been better in my life. The next day, at the highest point on the mountain. Hey! I came as fast as I could. Did I miss something? Billy landed next to Robin, then nodded at Amon and Jabba, who were standing next to him. A demon came to his tent a short while ago, telling him via the thoughts conveying technique that Robin wanted to see him for something important, so he came flying towards the top of the mountain. But it is clear that they started the meeting without him. You came just in time. Robin nodded at him with a slight smile and then looked back at Amon. Do you know what to do now? Do you need me to repeat anything? Everything is clear. Everything will be done according to your orders. Amon spoke in a raspy voice. Good, you may start the execution then. Robin spoke and then gestured to him to leave. So Amon gave a full bow and then flew towards the rest of the sages of the demon race. Hey, what was this? What is he going to do? Billy spoke and then started looking around randomly. Why are those crimson creatures starting to move? Where are they going? You don't have to worry about this. I called you to tell you to gather your men. We will go back to Jura at once. Robin patted Billy on the shoulder with a slight smile and his eyes closed. Ha? Going to Jura? The men need a rest. We have been in a constant fighting state for days, and we were being chased down for weeks now. Billy panicked and said, Can you calm down a bit and tell me what you are thinking? Let's think about our next step together, okay? Everything has already been prepared. You don't have to worry about anything other than what I asked you now. You will know everything when the results arrive later. Robin spoke with a smile and patted Billy's shoulder. Eh? What the? Billy furrowed his eyebrows and moved his eyes between Robin and Jabba, not knowing what was going on. I expect everyone will be ready to leave within an hour, and you don't have to worry about their fatigue. They won't be walking to Jura. Robin withdrew his hands and pointed toward the tall trees at the bottom of the mountain where about 5,000 Dracos were nesting. Billy looked at those majestic creatures and opened his eyes to the last of them. Are they going to ride these back? A few hours later, the Draco beasts descended on the already damaged walls of Jura and the tall buildings that were partly still standing in the city, and one by one the Burton Saints jumped down. The excitement of riding the Dracos and witnessing their amazing speed went down after they saw Jura again. Traces of destruction are everywhere around them. The streets still painted a dark red after the massacre that took place 10 years ago, and even the fresh blood the demons left behind after the recent cleansing of the city. 9,000 saints could threaten the existence of any kingdom on the continent. But they fell to their knees one by one upon seeing this scene with eyes filled with tears of strife and hearts crying out in pain. With all that strength they had, they failed to protect their people and property. What they are seeing now is what they got. They have no one or nowhere else. Robin looked around quietly. When he was here before, he was in no mood to examine the whole state of the city. Almost nothing remained the same. Even the metal pyramid that Robin built as a huge oath tablet showed old traces of melting on the sides. It is clear that a large number of sages tried to melt it to destroy it and free the rune masters and the special forces to extract information from them, but it is clear that they failed and stopped. The city will need major rehabilitation. Billy spoke while holding a handful of dark red soil under his feet. It became questionable if it's even suitable for growing core anymore. Nothing will be rehabilitated here. This soil will not be raised again and the streets will not be cleaned. Every drop of blood will remain there forever. Robin spoke and looked around. It is our city, the city that has contained the Burton family for more than 6,000 years. We. Billy stood up and clenched his hand tightly. He knew exactly what Robin was saying. He does not dare to give orders to clean the place and treat his family's blood as garbage that must be disposed of. And even if his heart hardens and does it, how can he look at these streets and eat the crops of this land again? Robin didn't even bother trying to convince Billy anymore, knowing he didn't need to. Take your time, you and the rest of the family sages, and take a break from the wars of the last decade. Then spread out over the continent to search for the prisoners and slaves of the Burtons and Bradleys and whatever family helped us to the end during the war. I will leave the entire Draco Legion to you to make it easier for you to do it. Gather them here in camps in front of Jura City until we find another suitable shelter. Your task from now on, you and your men, is to search and protect. Don't put anything else in mind. It's not as if the Empire and the rest of the kingdoms will be watching us as we reunite the family. Billy looked at Robin with furrowed eyebrows. But you already know that. You are going to do something big, aren't you? Give the men just 2 days to catch their breath, and then we will fight with you to our very ends. No one has to die anymore, just do what I told you and keep Zara and the 2 boys close. When they come back from exploring the city, tell them I've gone on a short errand and I'll be done before they miss me, Robin said with a smile. Billy was horrified to hear Robin's words. You will even leave your kids behind? What exactly are you trying to hide? A part of me that I don't want them to see yet, but I know they will understand later. Robin concluded with this vague sentence but didn't seem to intend to explain further. Then looked up at the sky and whistled loudly, and then shouted, Let's start the next part of the plan. At that moment, Billy felt that the ground was shaking under his feet. More than 80,000 demons came out of the forests near the city and from the very heart of the city and stood in 8 combat formations, each one made up of 10,000 demons. At the head of each formation were dozens of white-haired demons who looked even more powerful. Then the formations shot in different directions. Robin and Jabba chose 2 different demon formations and disappeared in different directions. After participating in the siege on Jura with 300,000 soldiers and giving the Flame Empire Allied Army an unlimited amount of food and other supplies, they were without a doubt the top winners of the war. After Jura fell, Duke Donald Everin raced to claim all the Burton lands. Of course, he couldn't get their lands at the kingdoms of Dolliver and the Lying Water, but happily swallowed their everything inside the Black Sun. The only piece of land he left was Jura and the surrounding area to become the main base for the Flame Empire to station their troops and do their research. With this, the Everin Duchy became the biggest duchy in the Black Sun and arguably in the whole ancestral continent. Their new size and manpower, and their new strong connection with the Empire sages made them an object of envy from everyone. Even the royal family of the Black Sun started to deal with them with the utmost respect. 1 hour later, the new frontier of the Duchy of Everin. What is that cloud of dust over there? Are they wild horses? One of the guards responsible for protecting the northern border of the Duchy of Everin spoke. His colleague came and stared at the cloud of dust for a while. I don't know either. The vision is not completely clear, but I think I see some crimson creatures. They have horns too. A week later, over the walls of the capital of the Black Sun. May the heavens have mercy on us. Thousands of soldiers standing on top of the walls gazed toward the horizon and began to recite their prayers. This wasn't the first time the capital had faced a hostile army, but it was the first time everyone stood inside its walls. At this moment, it didn't matter if you are a mortal or a sage. Everyone was shivering at the sight they saw. The incoming army was not a royal one, estimated its numbers in the millions, but a mere 10,000 foot soldiers. They had no siege equipment and no one flew in dazzling formations to terrorize their opponents. They just walked there, and seeing the effect, it seems that they really didn't need to do anything. With neither quick nor slow steps, a battalion approached that seemed to have just escaped from the bottom of hell. They were all naked and crimson in color, taller than average humans, with long spiral horns. Some of these horns even reached a meter long. The only human in the army looked like a dwarf when spotted next to them, even while riding on a war horse. Is that Robin Burton? Oh my God! The rumor is true. **T. We should have taken a neutral stance. The Marley family's knights and even the sages started talking in a low voice. There were rumors over the past few days that many cities inside their kingdom were invaded and killing spree happened. However, everyone who got out to find the truth about these rumors didn't come back again. Seeing the sight in front of their eyes now, it must have been true. It took a few seconds for the side talks to stop again, but they all started looking at a certain person from behind aggressively, as if they wanted to rip him apart. Sage Albert Marley approached the person the knights and sages from the royal family were looking at, and spoke in a low voice. "Philip, what are we going to do now? I don't think Robin came today for a friendly conversation." Philip Marley gritted his teeth hard and then looked next to him in the direction of a few people dressed in the traditional dress of the Flame Empire. He looked desperate. If they asked, he would kneel and beg without a doubt. There's no need to say anything. He's just an idiot who doesn't know his weight. You shouldn't be fooled by the shapes of those monsters. Maybe he brought a few clowns from his family and changed their shapes and their auras in our eyes with an illusion technique or something. After all, he is the creator of all those techniques, right? I assure you they are just human beings who haven't even reached the knighthood realm. A sage chuckled and spoke. That person especially had the strongest aura of all the sages on the walls. When Robin saw this, he finally spoke. "When I had to leave, I thought a lot about the most powerful and credible person I knew. I wanted someone to trust my family with, and I couldn't think of a better choice than you. For everything I gave your family, I asked you for one thing, and that was to protect my family until I came back. And you were kind enough and agreed. You said you wouldn't allow anyone to touch Jura City until I came back. Did that happen, Albert?" Albert Marley couldn't find anything to say. He just clenched both of his fists so quickly that it looked like they were about to shatter. His name is His Highness Sage Albert. Secondly, you may talk to me. What have you come for, Robin Burton? Do you think you can do whatever you want within my kingdom? Philip spoke, looking at Robin from the top of his nose. Albert, did this happen? Robin repeated his question again, but this time with a cold tone and clear killing intent that made even his war horse freeze in place and stop breathing for a few seconds. Why, yes, it happened. It happened, Albert replied, surprising even himself. Our family broke a pact with the Burtons? Oh my God. We are about to fight monster-like creatures. But we are the bad guys in this story. They were already at fault for helping an army that came to destroy a family in their lands, and they know it, but every Marley convinced himself that it was a person was, and they got nothing to do with it. Only now did they know how wrong they were. The morale of the soldiers, which was already low, plummeted more than ever. They just started looking at each other from the corners of their eyes, and some started letting their swords touch the ground with their mouths wide open in shock. You! Philip looked at his cousin Albers, visibly angry. Albert went silent and looked at the ground, not even knowing why he replied, but quickly convinced himself that he had responded because of his guilt and because of the monster army in front of him. Robin Burton! Philip shouted loudly. The decision to send supplies to the Allied army was mine alone. You ran a great duchy once, and you know how things go. Blame no one but yourself for what happened. You won the enmity of many when you were still weak, and you showed so much to the world when you were still a kid. Simply survival of the strongest, and you weren't the strong side in that equation. Robin ignores Philip again and continues to speak to Albert. In recognition of your frankness and our past together, I will give you one last chance. You have 10 seconds. Commit suicide the way you like it. If the battle starts while you are alive, believe me, you will regret it.
Ah, comité de suicide?
Do you think you can touch him when he is standing among us? I can't believe we have been searching for the past decade for this kid, who doesn't even know what he got himself into. One of the sages dressed in the Flame Empire's army uniform laughed loudly, then continued, I was planning to wait until our battalion that went out to hunt down the rest of your fugitive filthy family members and send them to search for you and bring you to me. I can't believe you came to us with your own foot, haha. For the first time, Robin moved his eye from Albert and fell on that sage. Are you saying that none of those idiots contacted you via the sound talismans before they were eaten? Before they were what? That wise man furrowed his eyebrows and asked in surprise. Robin moved his eyes towards the hands of all the people standing on the wall and then smiled. So then, the sound talismans that were sold in the markets have expired, and you can no longer make any more because of the harsh oath that the rune masters have taken. I took my time coming here to give you time to call whatever troops you have left, so that I can end you in one go. But you don't even know what is going on around you. Speaking crazy things won't prevent me from capturing you. Today, I'm going to make you tell us about the location of the oath tablets that silenced all our targets and rendered them useless. Then you will keep creating what we need for the rest of your miserable life. You will become the dog of the Empire from now on. A big smile appeared on the Sage of the Flame Empire's face. What a great plan! Robin clapped when he heard this, then looked at the demon to his right. Are you hungry? About an hour later, outside the walls of the capital of the Black Sun. Long inhale. The weather is perfect today. Robin let out a long exhale as he faced the sky with his eyes closed. Sitting on a very large and luxurious chair, it was the throne of the Black Sun King. Give your orders and end this already. Suddenly a shout came from in front of Robin, interrupting his peaceful moment. Why the hurry, Your Majesty? Do you want to experience how they feel so bad? Robin looked down and spoke to a man kneeling in front of him and then pointed to the right. King Philip didn't look to where Robin was pointing. He even closed his eyes and titled his head when he remembered what was happening there. But the demon standing behind King Philip didn't let him have his way. He grabbed Philip's head and forced it toward the left and used his fingers to open his eyes to see what was happening. The scenery in that direction was simply a feast. Just a happy group of demons gnawing and chewing on hundreds of corpses dressed in the uniform of the Flame Empire. The siege around the imperial capital didn't last nearly as long as what happened in Jura. The royal capital didn't have 30,000 saints to fight against Robin's mighty army. As soon as the fight began, all the demons at the sagehood level attacked the wall and clashed with the few dozen sages of the Flame Empire. Then the rest of the demons at sainthood jumped up past them and wreaked havoc in the army behind the walls. The 10,000 saint demons were unattended and unstoppable. This was not a battle nor a siege, but a quick one-sided massacre. Had Robin not given strict orders to keep the Marley family's descendants alive as much as possible, they would have joined that feast as well. King Philip Marley started making involuntary sounds watching these crimson-horned creatures cutting the bellies of these sages and eating happily. Even though he was a strong, cruel king that ruled these lands with an iron fist for too long, he couldn't get himself together when thinking that this is his inescapable future. This scene, these devils, shouldn't exist in this world. He tried with all his might to remove the demon's hands from his face so that he could turn away from this horrific scene. But he could not move his head or even narrow his eyes. "Why don't you just kill us?" A low voice caught Robin's eye, and his eyes fell on someone else kneeling next to Philip but looking at the ground with fear and helplessness. It was the sage Albert Marley. The demon standing behind Albert came down with a slap on the back of his head and spoke in a foreign language. "Who gave you permission to speak, prisoner?" Robin looked at Albert for a few seconds and then rolled his eyes over the long lines behind him. About 200 saints from the Marley family were kneeling just like the two of them, and behind each one stood an even stronger demon ready to kill him in the blink of an eye. Robin then looked back at Albert. "Of course, I'm thinking of a good way to deal with you. You don't think you'll simply get away like the clowns of the Flame Empire, right? I don't have any personal enmity with those, they just want my stuff. Of course, they choose the wrongest way possible and are going to pay for it. But it's just business, I understand that, but you lot. F***CKU. You have made the biggest mistake of your life. When the Flame Empire's forces return from their mission and the armies of the other 7 kingdoms are formed after they know what happened here, no matter how powerful you and these things are, you will all be eliminated for sure. The whole world will hunt you down like dogs." King Philip shouted with all his might. Robin gestured to the demon behind Philip's head to leave him, then looked him in the eye and asked, "The world will hunt us, you say? What world are you talking about?" "Ha!" Philip, who was rubbing his neck, which had a few torn muscles after his little incident just now, looked at Robin with shock after his word. "What world? What kind of question was that?" Robin pointed behind him. "You see this army? They are nothing special. There are 9 like it roaming the continent now as we speak, with orders to devour everyone who is a knight or above. I have decided that level 10 will be the limit for anyone whose name isn't Burton from now on. Oh, I almost forget the army that went toward the lands of the Duchy of Evran. They are a little different. They have the permission to devour anyone who has the Evran bloodline in his body. They had their fun. Now they will repay me by making my demons stronger, so what world were you talking about?" "No. No. You are a liar. You are definitely a liar. A liar." Philip started to mutter in shock and then screamed. The rest of the 200 Marley saints looked at Robin in utter shock as well. Albert shook his head quickly. "No, I refuse to believe it. Why would you lie like that? You especially can't do it. You spent tens of millions on charitable projects for the people in your land. You were pumping millions of gold coins into your new lands because you want people to love you. No, you can't give such orders. That way you would be the worst sinner in the history of this continent." "Humph. Do you think I'm so free to lie to some dead men?" Robin answered coldly and tilted his back to rest on his throne. "Do you think I care about my reputation in front of anyone now, Your Highness?" Albert looked into Robin's eyes for a long time, but soon he discovered that it was the first time he had seen those eyes. He realized that he had made a mistake. This was not Robin Burton, he remembered, so he just involuntarily muttered, "Who are you?" "Just someone who wants to start over clean." Robin gave a half-smile and replied. Albert opened his mouth slightly and then looked down with a half-focused eye. After a few seconds he gave a long sigh, smiled, and started to activate his energy. When Robin saw this, he furrowed an eyebrow and shouted angrily, "Don't you dare! If you dare commit suicide by cutting your lifeline, I will force my life energy into your body to keep you alive and ignite the flame of death in you for 10 full hours. That goes for all of you. Your death is mine to determine. You have lost that privilege already, you worms." When Albert and the rest of the Marley family heard this, they felt that they had already fallen into the lowest pit of hell. All of them, without exception, had already considered suicide if Robin ordered their slow death. Only now did they realize how naive they were. Philip looked side by side at his family, his children, grandchildren, and siblings, then looked down at the ground for a moment before shouting at Robin. "Then give your dogs the command to eat us already. It's not like you have the power to do anything to us on your own. Why are you still prolonging this ridiculous play?" Robin raised his eyebrows slightly as he listened to Philip's words, then stood up and signaled to the demon behind Philip to back off. "Congratulations to you. You have chosen your way of death. You will be killed personally at my hands." Philip stood with a look of anger and happiness at the same time. "Haha, you want a battle? As if I could kill you among all your dogs. But it doesn't matter. I hope you hold on for more than 10 seconds before you run away and order me to kill. That will be fun." Logical." Robin nodded, then extended his hand and summoned his black spear from the space ring, and spoke in a loud voice. "Then what do you think about this? I give you my word that if you can evade one attack from me, I will release you immediately." "Huh? Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Did you hear, you evil creatures? He will let me go if I dodge one attack. Bear witness to your master's lies." Philip laughed loudly and started shouting loudly until he made sure that all the demons in the area heard his words. How can he not be happy when his enemy has caught himself in a trap? Now, even if Robin does not keep his promise, and he most likely wouldn't, at least his credibility will fall to his followers. This will be enough for Philip to have a little laugh on his way to hell. Robin knew exactly what Philip was thinking, but did nothing to stop him from shouting loudly, simply taking a fighting position. "Are you ready?" Philip turned towards him, crossed his hands, and spoke with a confident expression. "Bring what you have, brat. Let this king teach you how I ruled these lands for 2,000 years. Okay then, here I come," Robin said, and then started slashing his black spear forward. The movement of the spear wasn't fast. Could even be said to be too slow for a level 26 saint. A person with the battle experience of Sage Philip, and as strong as him level 33, had enough time to chuckle at the incoming attack, look at his side towards his family and followers to reassure them that he got it and humiliate Robin further, and then looked back again towards Robin and laughed at him as the spear came toward his face. But suddenly, when Philip was about to dodge the spear, he saw Robin's shoulder begin to glow faintly from under his clothes. "What the?" Philip did not finish the sentence. Everything in front of him turned dark. The saints of the Marley family rose up in terror, forgetting for a moment that behind every one of them was a demon that could easily kill them. Even the sage Albert only looked to his left with an open mouth and trembling eyes, trying to comprehend what had just happened. The black spear pierced King Philip's skull. His Majesty, King Philip Marley, the absolute ruler of the Black Sun lands, had died without knowing how. He died with a questioning glare still stuck in his eyes, died asking himself what was that glow on Robin's shoulder. Albert tried to open his mouth to say something, but not a word came out. He saw everything from beginning to end with his own eyes, but at the same time he saw nothing. The spear was advancing slowly, but when it got close to Philip it suddenly disappeared, and when it reappeared again Philip's head was stuck in the middle of the spear shaft. No one saw Robin give the black spear an extra push to speed up at the last bit or something. It simply disappeared, and it did actually disappear for a moment. This was the effect of the second stage of the major heavenly law of space. Normally Robin wouldn't even be able to fully use the first stage of any law that isn't the truth. But an idea came to him one day and he was choosing a new attacking tattoo for himself after drawing himself the strength tattoo. He chose the pure strength divine tattoo that strength was using without thinking when he saw it the first time, because it was not just a minor law like the rest of the attacking divine tattoos, but rather like the body strengthening divine tattoo. The pure strength divine tattoo is a combination of several minor heavenly laws that help and support each other to produce an explosive power when needed. It is without a doubt one of the most tattoos that the first and second heavens chosen spend time on. Although it tires the body faster and makes it need more and longer sleep, With Robin's law of life, this is not a big problem, and therefore the decision to draw a tattoo did not take long. But then, all the tattoos available in the eastern regions of Nahari are all basically minor laws, just the first level of minor laws at that. Why does he have to be associated with one of these things? To be able to use 100% of a minor law instead of 70%. This was not helpful at all. Then an idea struck him. Why not create divine attacking tattoos dedicated to the major heavenly law techniques that he had created? When his thinking reached this direction, he began to dig deeper. Why not add the continuous development feature like that found in the divine body strengthening tattoo, and add it to the attacking divine tattoos that he intends to create to enable him to constantly increase their depth and impact? Instead of keeping the tattoo in the first stage forever, he can take it to the second or third stage or more. It will grow just as Robin's understanding of the tattoos and laws grows. In this way, he could avoid the restriction of the inner energy system that made him a specialist in a single heavenly law, and he would be able to use any law to the stage he wanted by simply drawing it in the manner of a modified attacking divine tattoo. When Robin thought about the possibility that day, he entered one of his long retreats and immediately got to work. It took him a few years to develop. He faced a lot of obstacles while trying to fully understand the system of attacking divine tattoos to modify it in such a great way. The issue was much more tiring compared to modifying it on the body-strengthening tattoo to suit humans. But he managed to do it in the end, and the result was simply amazing. The first tattoo he used this method for his body was the modified space attacking divine tattoo. On the one hand, because it was one of the most powerful and supreme laws he had ever discovered, and on the one hand, it matched the black spear he already possessed. The black spear. It's what Robin ordered from Jabba right after his torture. He thought to himself if he knew how to teleport or if he have another way to hide things from him, he wouldn't have been in that situation, so he focused more on space major heavenly law. The spear is entirely made of metal that Robin discovered while touring the markets before the kidnapping and torture incident. This metal is suitable for the manufacture of purposes related to space law, and it is the same that has entered a small percentage in the manufacture of space rings. The space inside the rings is limited, but everything he currently needs is stored in, so it's more than enough for now. But the thing is, if each ring contains 1 gram of this space mineral, then the spear contains kilograms of it. The good thing is that Nahari treats that metal as it is an extremely hard and rare metal, which makes it expensive, but they still do not understand its true value. Perhaps on another planet that knows what this metal and its properties are, Robin would not have found such a large amount of it. And even if he found it, he wouldn't have been able to buy it. And the development of the spear did not stop there. After it took shape and Jabba brought it to Robin, he immediately tattooed divine tattoos on it, one of them specializing in strengthening space attacks. Every detail involved in this attack, be it the materials for the weapon itself, the runes on the spear, the divine tattoo on Robin's right shoulder, everything made it absolutely devastating. Everything made it disappear for a second. But the real difference this time from the rest of Robin's innovations is that no one has benefited from it except Robin himself. Tisk all that arrogance and you couldn't dodge a spear. Well, it's not like being careful would have helped him in the face of the space law, Robin said, then flicked the spear to the right and Philip's stuck corpse came out of it, and he flew until he fell in the middle of the banquet. Robin looked at the scene for a few seconds, and then took a long inhale and exhaled and turned back to look at Albert as he pointed with the black spear toward what was left of Philip's body. You go and sit next to your brother. Me? You want me to? Me? Albert finally regained part of his consciousness and started to stutter like crazy. Please. Didn't we have a good moment between us? We helped each other a lot. Don't do this to me. This Philip guy pissed me off because he got away with a quick death. You don't want me to stay angry, right? Now you must take your punishment and his punishment. Robin spoke indifferently and returned to sit on the throne. No. Your Excellency, do you want me to give him a ride there? The demon sage behind Albert spoke when he saw him not moving. No need to tire yourself. He is a good boy and will be going there on his feet. Robin replied and then looked at Albert. Come on, move on. I don't have all day. What about a small encouragement? Every minute you are late, I will send one of your descendants with you to keep you company. Albert looked up at Robin with a frightened look. Only a cold face and half-open eyes met him. Robin appeared as if he was looking at an insect that had bitten him, and not a human being. He had just decided his death in the most horrific way. Devil! Robin didn't show any reaction when he heard this. He just raised his right hand and gestured at him to start moving. After a few more seconds, Albert finally stood up with an absent look as if life had already left him, and began to drag his foot toward the banquet, where the hungry customers were waiting for their creamy meal. At first, he took a few short, heavy but powerful steps, trying to maintain his prestige even in death. But with every step he took forward, more and more demons that were busy eating noticed him, stopping their eating and looking forward to the next dinner, with their smiling and blood-stained mouths. Albert's old heart almost stopped. He didn't even notice that he stopped in place for a few seconds already. His mind could no longer give the command to his foot to take a step. Throw this one. At this moment Albert heard Robin's voice from behind and suddenly saw a teenage figure flying in the direction of the demons. My son! Albert cried his heart out when he finally realized that the teenager whose skull was just smashed is his youngest son. Go ahead before I send the next. Robin's voice echoed back from behind. The earth began to swallow under Albert's feet, and he began to force himself to move forward again as he dragged his feet into the ground and muttered, Devil! Devil!
No.
No! Get away from me!
No.
For demon sages attacked Albert when he got close enough. Each grabbed one of his limbs and pulled it in different directions until his 4 limbs were torn. Then several saint-level demons came and started feeding on his main body without directly killing him. Albert could do nothing except screaming powerlessly and waiting for his soul to come out. With this simplicity and ugliness, 2 individuals who had controlled an ancient kingdom for more than 2,000 years began to literally disappear in the bellies of the demons next to each other. Robin nodded satisfied when he saw this and looked back at the rest of the Marley Saints. The rest of you, what do you think I do with you? Some of the saints started crying, some wet their pants, and some already fainted, but the demons behind them beat them until they woke up again. We. One of the elders of the Marley family tried to speak but couldn't find anything to say. Others tried too, but the words seemed to get stuck in their throats. You what? Robin shouted, and everyone fell silent. No one dared to respond. Then Robin looked at them one by one until his eyes fell on one of them, and he signaled to the demon standing behind that man to bring him. That person fell to his knees again right in front of Robin's throne, trembling, not daring to raise his eyes. William Marley, the famous strong warrior and crown prince. Robin tilted himself forward a little and spoke. A person as admirable as you should not have such a weak appearance. I even admired and respected your character one day. This humble one doesn't deserve to be admired or respected by you, Your Excellency. William stammered a few times but eventually managed to finish the sentence. It is as if it was yesterday when he brought his younger brother Alfred to Jura City in a big manner, demanded to see Robin, and even made Robin teach his brother the white candle technique. Of course, he made some payments, but they were nothing. He made Robin teach his younger brother. That one day when some elders of the Burtons betrayed their family and leaked what this white candle really was. William panicked. He actually made Robin, the man who discovered the purest form of the fire heavenly major law, teach his peerless technique to his brother at such a near-to-nothing price. He panicked when he heard what this white candle really is, and feared for a second that Robin might hold a grudge against him, but also forgot about it just as quickly. Because there were no more Burtons to back Robin, he had nothing to fear. But today, under Robin's gaze and words, he felt that he is about to taste his uncle's end. You damn right you don't. But good. This is the attitude I like. Robin clapped and said, Do you know why I treat you lot so specially, William? I mean, all the other royal families haven't had this special honor. Because we betrayed the agreement, William replied, every word coming out of his mouth as if his heart went out with it. Wrong. Robin hits the throne. It's because I want to give you a chance. A chance? William finally turned his head upwards, but slightly enough to look at Robin's feet. He didn't dare raise his head any further. Suddenly a few plates of metal fell in front of William, and then Robin continued. You are fortunate that your family has given birth to Alfred. He is like a little brother to Caesar, I don't want him to grieve when he comes back and says I left him no family. As vile as you are, you still his blood.
Alfred? Alfred.
William suddenly remembered something, and then lowered his head again until it looked like it was going to touch the sand. Listen, all of you, sons of Marley, you have to pick a solution of two. The first is to let the demons behind you feed on you, then let them feed on everyone that carries your bloodline, and I think they would love me more if I let them do it. The second option is to swear an oath of absolute and eternal loyalty to me alone. An oath to force your children and all future generations in your families to love and respect me like their God. An oath to compel every new saint in your family to take the same oath without exception. To say it more clearly, die or become my slaves forever. Choose wisely. Robin announced and then returned to lay his back on the throne, knowing full well what their choice will be after what they have seen so far.